For the ones who know safety isn't a catchphrase, it's a culture. And the ones who help make sure everyone makes it home safe. For the safety-minded who watch everyone's backs, Grainger offers supplies and solutions for every industry, as well as safety assessments and training to keep your facilities safe and your people safer. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Hello, this is Zack Sabre Jr., New Japan Cup winner 2018. And you're listening to Keepin It Strong Style with my mates. Enjoy.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the Implications Matthew Maher. On today's show, we'll be discussing New Japan Cup USA, the road to Wrestling Dontaku, answering your questions, and covering all latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing to the Social Suplex Podcast Network or to Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the podcasts and columns over at socialsuplex.com. You can check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store, ProWrestlingTees.com/socialsuplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. This week's episode is brought to you by the NJPW EXT, the only browser extension for NJPWWorld.com with features like dark mode, improved translations and layouts, custom and shared playlists, synchronized viewing parties, and much, much more. It takes NJPW World to the next level. You can visit njpwext.us today for details. Young boy's out today, but I have my man Imp from WrestlingHeadlines.com. Imp, how you doing, man?
I am flipping knackered. But Jeremy hit me up about 2 or 3 hours ago. I just so happens to have started listening to an episode of Keeping It Strong Style, available on Ved Circle. And he was like, Impy baby, we need you, Impy baby, we need you, Impy boy,
Impy boy,
Impy boy, we need you over here.
I need a top.
We got boys down.
I need a top draw to come fill in. Young boy couldn't make it to the arena.
Young boy down. Impy boy comes on in. Yes. Yeah, and the reason I said yes was because I had my Raw review, and after my Raw review, I was like, I need cheering up. I need it. Let's talk about New Japan. Let me be happy about wrestling again. I can't wait to talk about some New Japan, going through all the questions and just thinking about a world that I was going to say makes so much more sense, but we'll get to it.
Yeah. There's some questionable things going on. We'll get to that. This past week we had WrestleMania. I guess we should call it WrestleMania week at this point. It's no longer just a weekend. There's literally events from the independents all the way up to WWE happening all throughout the week. And Mania weekend was here in my home city of Tampa, Florida. We had a bunch of wrestlers running throughout the city. All kinds of shows, like I mentioned, from your low-level indie that you never heard to, all the way up to both nights of WrestleMania right here at Raymond James Stadium, actually 10 minutes away from the Strong Style Dojo here. So pretty crazy weekend. I was able to go to a couple of shows here that actually featured several New Japan guys, most of the U.S. New Japan guys that you see on Strong. And we had a question from our good friend Sir Sam. And he says, as Conrad Townsend would say, chat me up about Bloodsport. So Bloodsport 6 was Thursday night. Did get a chance to go to the show with Young Boy and Rich Latta. This is actually the first time that I've attended Bloodsport. So Josh has been all in on Bloodsport from the very first one. I remember the first time we went to New Orleans for Mania weekend, and he's like, we were like literally just drove into New Orleans, and like we wanted to just kind of check into our our Airbnb and get settled. And like Bloodsport at the time was like, it was a new show, so it was like the 4:00 slot in the afternoon. And Young Boy was like, I gotta go to this show. So we like dropped him off and he like loved it ever since then. And ever since then he's been trying to get us to go, but it just has never worked out as far as our schedules. Like in New York, Rich and I ended up going to where we were having Suplex Mania and meeting Tama Tonga and him buying us a beer and staying there chatting with him until it was time for the WrestleCon Super Show. So it just never worked out for me to get to a Bloodsport. So finally got to a Bloodsport live here. Now, I know you didn't catch this one, but have you seen any of the Bloodsport shows before?
Yes, I have. And I've seen so much footage from the, I think it was the Dickinson match and the Barnett-Moxley match. And Moxley's other adventures this week. I've seen those stuff as well. I have watched Bloodsport before. I absolutely have loved everyone I've watched. I was so excited last year for... I'm not so getting confused. No, I was like, we did see Suzuki Riddle. That was it. Because Suzuki was a replacement for somebody.
He was a replacement for Loki, I think it was.
Oh, that was it. What a replacement. What an upgrade. Jesus Christ. But yeah, I think the match that really won it over for me was with the now Karrion Kross versus David Hart Smith. That match was absolutely fantastic and completely sold the entire concept of the whole thing to me. I've seen the other ones previously, but for some reason it was that specific match where I really was like, I get it. And both men looked killer. Pardon the pun, because he was called Killer Cross at the time. But yeah, both men just legit. It was that because it's sometimes a bit faux MMA with the. I think there's a better word for it than that. But it really gelled in that match, and I've made it a annual thing to definitely check it out every year since, as a part of WrestleMania weekend, like along with like Jody Notice Spring Break and stuff for the culture. Like there is just the shows, the GCW shows that they put on. It just became part of my WrestleMania week. The variety they offer is fantastic, and each one has like a real purpose for being there. Bloodsport, it brings that ruthless realism, the ruthless aggression.
Ruthless aggression, pal. But yeah, I really enjoyed watching the show live. And the thing is, they had like, I think it was like 12 fights, and the card moved relatively fast. Like it was at one point in the night where there was like 2 fights left, and we're like, oh, it's going to be over already. That went by pretty fast. So yeah, it was really enjoyable show to watch live. I really like the presentation. They do kind of the fighter kind of walkout introductions at the beginning, having both fighters face off. So that was kind of cool. Seeing Mox and Barnett face off there at the beginning of the show. And like we mentioned, several New Japan guys were featured on this card. First, we had Alex Coughlin. He defeated Royce Isaacs, and this was actually a rematch from the Bloodsport that happened a couple months ago. And so, yeah, Royce Isaacs beat Coughlin that time. So this was a rematch. The first time that there's been a rematch in Bloodsport history. And so there was kind of a story going into this. And Coughlin came out running just like the Young Lions do, bolted down to the ring. It was just a very hard-hitting and aggressive matchup. And Coughlin got the win using a single crab with a heel hook. So a little bit of the Young Lions style there, twisted with the heel hook, and got the big win there in post-match. It's kind of saying, now I got one, you got one. So I'm guessing whenever the next Bloodsport's going to be, we'll get another Coughlin, Royce Isaacs match. Then we had Lio Rush defeating a guy named Yoya. It's the first time I've seen Yoya. But this was a pretty good match. This is almost in a way kind of like a high-speed Bloodsport fight here. And Lio Rush, a lot of people don't know, he has a amateur background, collegiate wrestler, very good. He came out with a singlet on and was just ready to go. And we saw a lot of grappling here from Lio Rush, and it's a lot of innovative, kind of mixing some of that high speed and the grappling there together. So that was a very entertaining match. At that point of the card, that was like one of the best fights of the night. Then we had Chavo Guerrero Jr. taking on our good friend Rocky Romero. There is definitely an interesting matchup here. I think I would have probably preferred to see this in a regular rules kind of setting, a regular kind of show, but they worked really good here. Rocky's obviously very good at grappling with his time in the original LA dojo. And the funny thing, at one point during this fight, Chavo was trying to do a Three Amigos.
Oh yes, I've seen it. Yeah. To say as well, Chavo looked flipping ripped. I've seen.
Yeah, he was in great shape. He had the "Ooh Chavo" music, which
for Bloodsport as well,
which popped the crowd. And good fight here. Chavo got the win via ref's stoppage and got some big Eddie Guerrero chants after the match. Then we had one of the stars of Mania weekend as far as the indie scene, Dirty Daddy Chris Dickinson. He defeated Shane Mercer. This was a very hard-hitting fight here. Dickinson was all over the GCW shows all this weekend, just had a solid performance here as well. And then the main event, the big main event, Josh Barnett defeated Jon Moxley by referee's decision. This fight was awesome, hard-hitting. Both men bleed. Towards the end, you just have both men with color, gushing with blood. You got Moxley talking all the crap throughout the fight, and he was like, somebody like said something he did wrong, and he like was yelling at the fan. It was awesome, and just the whole atmosphere for that fight was great. And these guys were laying it into each other. There was one point where like Barnett was outside the ring, and Mox did a dive through no ropes and landed on Barnett. And so yeah, wild crazy brawl. Barnett hits a Death Valley driver and just repeatedly stomps Moxley's head until the ref stops it. And I know a lot of people were surprised that Barnett won, but if you think about it in the Bloodsport kayfabe, I mean, Barnett is, well accomplished MMA fighter, catch wrestler. It would be kind of unbelievable for crazy, I want to be a deathmatch wrestler Jon Moxley to defeat him in his own game here.
I would say Barnett has taken Bloodsport from Riddle so incredibly well.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden, I remember when Riddle left, it was just that thing of, will it be the same? And then Josh Barnett went, it bloody will be. He's been fantastic. And I've seen just how incredibly bloody this was. And hearing what it was like live, I'm pretty jealous. It seems like it's something special.
Yeah, it was definitely, it was so great live, and just definitely one of the standouts of the weekend, which we had a question here from Rambo and Slam Big asking, what was our favorite NJPW excursion match of WrestleMania weekend? Was it Mox versus Barnett? He says, I loved it. And yeah, for me, from all the stuff that I saw from the independents, my favorite quote-unquote excursion match would be the Moxley-Barnett fight here at the main event of Bloodsport.
I'll give a shout-out to TJP for coming so close to defeating Austin Aries for internet's biggest idiot, but Austin Aries got his Twitter back. He's so close. So close.
So yeah, Bloodsport was awesome. If anybody's ever thinking about going to Bloodsport on Mania weekend, next year Mania's in Dallas. I'm sure there'll be one there. If you're thinking about going to Dallas, I definitely recommend going to Bloodsport. And I know Josh was telling me, this wasn't even, the best card that he's seen and just the best environment with it. It's kind of weird, kind of being on an outside arena, and normally it's inside and you kind of hear some of the striking a little bit more, but I thought that venue was cool. And so yeah, if you're in Dallas next year, go out your way to watch Bloodsport or order it on Fight TV. You can order all the replays for all the previous Bloodsport, so definitely recommend checking that out. Also, the weekend after Bloodsport, we stayed for the Culture Show, which featured one New Japan guy here, Lio Rush. He had a match up against Lee Moriarty. I think this is either second or third time I've seen Moriarty in action, and this was another kind of a high-speed, high-paced match here, high-flying matchup here. Moriarty actually defeated Lio Rush. It's a really good match. There was a botch towards the end with the referee where Moriarty had Lio in a cradle, and Leo didn't kick out, and the ref just stopped counting. It's like, what's going on here? But overall, still a pretty good matchup here. Lio Rush, another guy that was all over the GCW shows this weekend. And then on Friday night, we went to the GCW / Violence Time Suffering Lucid Dreams show. And now this was another midnight show, but the crowd was absolutely dead for this show. So I get it. Most of you guys have probably been there all day because I know Collective GCW ran shows at that same venue all day. But come on, guys, if you're gonna stay for this show, give something, give a little bit of energy. There was only one matchup. It was a crazy 5-on-5 tag where the guys were brought all over throughout the arena and doing all kind of crazy flips. There's a guy named Ninja Mac. You can follow him on Twitter at Ninja Mac1. He was doing the craziest flips, Rich Ladder Pro Wrestling approved. I was like, you gotta find the gifts of that guy. But also on this card, they had Brian Cage going up against Chris Dickinson. So a little AEW versus New Japan here. And this was a really, really good match. Unfortunately, the crowd was so dead, but I was loving this. This was a hard-hitting fight. Dickinson actually wrestled on Spring Break. He was in a really bloody match in Spring Break. So he came out in this match, had all bandaged up and stapled up, and got busted back open again. He was a bloody mess, and it's a very hard-hitting Hoss fight here. Everything you would expect when you think of Brian Cage and Dirty Daddy, and Brian Cage got the win there. And then the main event of this show was Low Key defeating Leo Rush. Now, I actually didn't see this main event because we actually ended up leaving. So unlike Bloodsport and For the Culture, this show was not running on time, and it was running long because of Spring Break. They had that whole angle with Moxley getting face-to-face with Nick Gage, and they had a whole big cleanup from that. So this show started 45 minutes late. It got to a point where it's 3 o'clock in the morning. We were all hungry. It's this crowd's dead. It's I could always catch this Leo Rush Low Key match later. So, but overall, still a fun show to be at, and it's discovering some new wrestlers there.
And another shout out to Jimmy Floyd, who went to WrestleMania, was wearing his GCW shirt, but he was on the camera side, so they made him put on a Hurt Business shirt. He then left WrestleMania, went to his GCW booking, and wrestled in the Hurt Business shirt. I was just oh yeah. Well done, Jimmy.
Yeah, I think that's going to be his new gimmick going forward. He's just going to keep wearing that Hurt Business shirt on all GCW shows.
It's just a story in full circle. I love it.
Yeah. So overall, I thought it was a fun WrestleMania weekend there. Also, not our normal we would expect from WrestleMania weekend from the independent scenes. Just with the pandemic, normally we would have way more international guys coming through. New Japan would normally be here. I mean, last year they were planning on doing a Lions Break show, and a ton of New Japan guys were supposed to come in for Supercard of Honor. So yeah, we had no ROH presence here this weekend. So a little bit of a weird weekend. Hopefully things will be better in Dallas next year with vaccines rolling out, and hopefully we'll get a little bit more of a normal weekend here. Something else that happened throughout the weekend here in New Japan World was the kickoff of the New Japan Cup USA. So this is to determine the winner will become the new Strong Openweight Championship. And what are your thoughts on this new Strong Openweight title here?
I think after the reveal of the IWGP, the new belt, then it got a bit of a mixed reception. I think immediately reception to this was just straight up positive, which is great to see. Both designs for their US stuff so far has been just top notch, and it's great to see they still care. And I'm always up for a New Japan tournament.
Yeah,
you're getting quality.
Right, that's one thing that New Japan does great is the tournaments. And I know we talked about our feeling on the title last week, and again, I would just say I still think that the Strong title is a good idea for Strong, just because clearly the U.S. title is just not going to be featured that often on this show, and you need something for these guys to be fighting for, and you can't do a tournament every single week. So having that Strong title gives these guys something to fight for, and there's more meaning to just a random one-on-one match. It's all right, if this guy wins, maybe he can get into contentionship for the Strong title. So we had the first round kicking off on Friday. First round matchup, we had Leo Rush defeating Clark Connors. Once again, Leo just kind of showing more of his grappling style here and kind of going hole to hole for Clark Connors. And with Connors here, we've seen his kind of game plan has just been the spear Boston Crab combo. But he failed to submit Leo Rush with the Boston Crab here. Leo hits the come up, that springboard cutter that he does, and gets the win here to advance to the next round. Then we had what I thought was probably the match of the night here, Filthy Tom Lawler defeating Ren Narita by referee's decision. This match could probably happen on Bloodsport. It was very hard-hitting, a lot of grappling, a lot of striking. Obviously, Lawler, a former MMA fighter, using a lot of his grappling stuff with the, he used a banana split, and it's a lot of submissions, constantly going for the rear naked choke and working over Narita's legs at certain points. And Narita, very well, with grappling as well, using his Narita special leg lace at one point. Nose gets busted open towards the end of the match, so we got a nice little bloody brawl here with Lawler and Narita, and just very hard hitting. Narita had built up so much momentum coming into this match, defeating a lot of main guys on New Japan Strong. So I think a lot of people were expecting him to take out Lawler here, but got locked into that rear naked choke, and the ref had to stop the match here. We had a question here for Rainbow Slam Pig. It says, Filthy Tom is a beast. Do you think he'll be part of main roster shows in Japan when COVID is over? Is it likely he brings Team Filthy with him? It'd be interesting for a whole new faction to show up on the shows all at once. Who on the main roster would fit that squad? So, Imp, have you seen any of Filthy Tom?
I have, yes, I have. I'm aware of his stuff in MLW, but I'm pretty certain I've seen him on a Bloodsport as well, to bring it full circle.
Yeah, he has been on Bloodsport,
Yeah, so, fully aware of him. And, I was thinking already, and then he said, who on the main roster? It's like, it's an even bigger question. Who on the main roster? Just hitting good ones in a row. Do I think he'll be part of the main roster, first off? He's one that I would like to see, but I don't really know if there's any plan for these guys who've been featuring on New Japan Strong to properly go over. I've got no idea what the plan is. And I don't even know if they definitely... I mean, it's New Japan. I'm still in WWE brain. It's just broken me this week.
Well, it has been kind of up in the air with some of the American guys. You've got a guy like Mysterioso. I mean, he's been on the New Japan US shows for several years now and has never got the call to go over to Japan. So it might be one of those situations where they are just trying to establish their quote-unquote US base or US roster. And some of those guys may never go over to New Japan on the main roster. But I do think Filthy Tom is a guy that they could bring over. It does have a little bit of a name value, has that kind of MMA background. I think, especially with so many people being either signed up to WWE or AEW. I know AEW, a lot of those guys do have it where they can work both, but still New Japan might kind of want their own guys. So Filthy Tom might be a name that they might want to kind of lock up.
I was trying to think in terms of main roster. It's like, because of the way he wrestles, he could be part of Suzuki Gun. But if he's bringing his whole squad over and it's someone else joining his stable, I feel like it'd have to be a young lion, because I can't picture anyone big. Because of course Lawler would be your big main guy.
Yeah.
Unless you turn somebody heel off of them. You make Yano serious.
Shooter Yano.
Bring back GBH Yano. And they do that. I don't know, because I feel Tom Lawler would be your main guy in that stable because he is so good.
Right. I can't think of, because I feel like a lot of the people who would fit in or probably would be in Suzuki, like Suzuki or Zack Sabre, somebody that's very kind of grapple or strike heavy.
So is there somebody outside? I've forgotten his name. The one who faced Suzuki in a shoot fight at Wrestle Kingdom that one year.
Wow, I'm blanking on his name here.
Yeah, but just a name to legitimize them to the Japanese audience, I guess, to be their Dictogo. To be ace in the hole.
Yeah, you could do that, or just by having them attack a big faction or attack a big star would be a pretty big deal.
Yeah. But I would like to see it.
Yeah, it'd be cool. I mean, we always use new factions. Having United Empire this year has been good, but also, Chaos and Bullet Club and LIJ and Sugun have all been around for a while and kind of have the same roster for the most part. So adding a new faction for fresh matchups and fresh faction warfare would always be cool. So next up on the card, we had Hickalyo defeating Fred Rosser. They had a wild kind of brawl before the bell rang on the outside and then eventually getting back in. Hickalyo getting some revenge here. Last time they faced off, Fred Rosser cheated to beat Hickalyo here, but Hickalyo was not playing around this time, hits him with the Samoan driver to get the win. And then in the main event, we had a clash of Violence Unlimited members from Ring of Honor as Brody King defeated Chris Dickinson here in the main event. Once again, Chris Dickinson having another kind of standout match here throughout the weekend. And this was another just hard-hitting Hoss battle here between Brody King and Dickinson. And Brody King ends up getting the win here. We had a question from our user Asayo Jimbo. He says, is New Japan trying to course correct by retroactively addressing Dickinson being in two different factions at once, or is it a legit storyline? I don't see how Dickinson suddenly becoming a cross-promotional faction horror fits his recent promos claiming a career goal of success in New Japan. So what's going on here, Imp? So Chris Dickinson has been a part of Filthy Tom's Team Lawler this whole time, and then Ring of Honor had their big anniversary show a couple weeks ago, and he showed up on that show with Brody King's new faction, Violence Unlimited. And so obviously RH and New Japan are still partnered together, and they are in the same universe. So it was kind of weird that you would have heel Dickinson on Team Lawler, and then, well, I guess I'm not quite sure what Brody King's faction is going to be in Ring of Honor, but him just showing up against Brody King, a guy who's been against Team Lawler. And so that was kind of a weird thing there, but they did address it on commentary on Strong. And last week, Kevin Kelly was asking, he was like, how's it, you're on Team Filthy, but you've also formed this new alliance in Ring of Honor and kind of, got the seeds planned for dissension there. And both these ROH and New Japan do tape a lot ahead of time. So I'm guessing this had to be some kind of communication between the companies, some kind of plan here. And it does seem like they are going to take Dickinson out of Team Filthy and kind of feud with Lawler. So maybe it will all kind of make sense, and he will join up with Brody King in New Japan Strong as well.
It's one of those where I look at it and my immediate reaction was, have you seen that stable in Ring of Honor? It's cool as hell. Who cares about logic?
Yeah, it's him. It's Dickinson, King, Tony Deppen, and Homicide. Yeah, that's a great crew. Yeah. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that faction does come on over to Strong for some tapings, and maybe we get a Violence Unlimited versus a Filthy Tom feud there. But yeah, that was this week's.
Yes, please. Yes.
That was this week's New Japan Strong in the USA Cup. So I definitely go out of your way to watch. I know, Imp, you haven't really watched much of New Japan Strong since it started, but this is one you can kind of hop in, a good starting point here. I definitely recommend you checking this one out.
Yes, when he said not much, I told him before the show, I've not watched a single minute. So, yes, it's my New Japan blind spot. I just haven't had the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had the time, but not the wrestling fatigue level to then watch a Strong show. So, yeah.
We had a question here from our user Wiz Factor. It says, in light of live crowds during WrestleMania weekend, would NJPW Strong benefit from eventually transitioning into a live show of fans in attendance? If so, how long could it be before New Japan can feel comfortable letting the fans in?
I mean, there's quite a few states in America that don't give a crap. So it's, do New Japan as a company give a crap? Which is probably yes. Well, like over here, we've just opened pubs. We still have to drink or eat outside. You're not allowed to go in. I can use the toilets or whatever. But yeah, you eat and drink outside. You have to do like a check-in type of thing to say there are two people here at this pub and whatever. So it's track and traced. So it's not loose is the best way to put it. It's all still with quite a lid on it, but you are allowed to at least go to these places now. But that's only started this month. We were still like pretty much complete lockdown until this month. And like us looking at Florida, like for WrestleMania, it's like, wow. I mean, because from a distance, I've been watching America. And it's just like, yeah, there are some states that it's just like, I feel so sorry for the people in there because the people in charge just never gave a crap, which is, yeah. Unfortunately, Florida is one of those states.
Yeah. So. It's the Wild Wild West here, and yeah, that's why I didn't go to any indoor shows this weekend. I definitely went to the collective outdoor shows, wore my mask. Did not go to WrestleMania, which was only literally like 10 minutes away from me. So I tried to stay as far away as people as possible throughout this weekend.
There were so many people at WrestleMania not wearing masks on the hard cam as well. it's just like, at least when it comes to the commentators and it's floods of people not wearing masks, and it's like, at least the ones on camera, right? At
Right.
least those ones.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah.
at the GCW collective shows, they actually had somebody walking around making sure people had their mask on. So even if you took it down for a second or you didn't have it over your nose, there was somebody kind of walking around telling people to put their mask up. So,
And the amount of people who don't know how to wear a mask, it goes over your nose. It's insane.
yeah, at this point in the pandemic, you would think people would understand how it works.
Well, I'm watching footballers just sitting in the stadium who are like on the substitute bench, whatever it's called in America as well, and they've got it down below their nose and they're just like chilling on their phone. It's just like, what are you doing? It's been a year. How are you this tense over the nose? It rants over anyway. Wrestling. Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely do think that. I mean, pretty much any show that's running empty arena right now is going to benefit from having fans. So I definitely think especially Strong, because there are a lot of good matches on there, a lot of good wrestlers, but sometimes it just gets killed by the atmosphere, and I think it gets overlooked sometimes because of the atmosphere just being in that empty studio that they've been using. And so I definitely think the show would get a shot of energy with having fans in attendance. I don't think it has to be live. I think they can still do a tape thing, just do Strong's like 1 hour, you do maybe a 3-hour, 4-hour taping, you get 4 weeks of TV, get the crowd in there for 4 weeks, and you kind of do that kind of schedule that we've seen. NXT used to do something similar, and other companies, Ring of Honor, several companies have kind of done that multi-week taping with a crowd there for 3 to 4 hours. So I definitely think that would be great for Strong. And when New Japan will feel comfortable letting fans in, I don't know. I don't really know what the status is of things in California, what their restrictions are, if they're pretty strict or not. But it just depends on what they're using. I mean, I guess they could find something here in Florida if they wanted to, or try to find something in California. So I guess we'll see. I do think eventually we will see Strong have fans. And, there was that whole U.S. map that they had at the beginning of kind of the U.S. expansion. And I'm sure that eventually we will see them travel around and maybe do Strong tapings in some of their kind of key areas that they were trying to hit.
Yeah, I think the thing that might help is the really good news coming out of the Ring of Honor bubble. Like, that appears to have worked really well. So I feel like that might be something that really does help in terms of like doing that for New Japan Strong.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, because I mean we're starting to see fans now with NXT, and I know they have to get temperature checked and wear masks there at the performance center. So I mean, if they want to kind of hotshot and get fans in there soon, I mean, there are states that can do it. There are protocols that they can get in place. But it seems like they'll probably, maybe for the next few months, probably stick with the tape kind of empty studio environment until things start to clear up more.
Yeah, do the AEW tactic, and when WWE do some kind of shady stuff to try and get their way, you just benefit from that as well.
Right.
You don't have to pay any money to a governor. Just turn up. Opinions on my own. Let's bring that one back.
We had a question here from friend of the show, Karen. It says, on NJPW Strong, there's a constant mention that Coughlin and Connors have also graduated from Young Lion status. What can they do to set themselves apart from the newest Young Lion additions? Where would you like to see them work? ROH, GCW, Impact, etc., until they can regularly work Japan?
I mean, Ring of Honor is on a... I really like what I saw from Ring of Honor lately. And both of those guys could kill it there. But really, all of the above. Just want to see them.
Yeah, I definitely think, Ring of Honor is going to be a great spot for them, especially with the new kind of emphasis on the pure wrestling, and they brought back the pure title. You have the foundation with Gresham and Lethal and Rhett Titus and Hot Sauce Tracy Williams all trying to bring back pure wrestling. And so I think Coughlin and Connors would fit perfectly in that division right there. We've seen Coughlin on Bloodsport, so if they do more Bloodsport shows for GCW, he can definitely kind of pop up on there. And there's definitely some interesting guys in GCW that both those guys could wrestle. If you want them to get more TV experience, there's Impact, and as she didn't mention, but there's AEW. We've seen the opening up of that relationship with the whole Mox and Kenta stuff, and there are guys like Danny Limelight, who has been working Strong tapings and AEW Dark and Dark Elevation. So it could be pretty cool. Yeah, you have Coughlin and Connors maybe go down to Jacksonville for a couple of weeks and work some Dark tapings, work a Dynamite maybe, go against a star on Dynamite, get them some TV experience, get them a little bit more experience in front of a crowd there. Could be good for them.
Yeah, and with NXT kind of hold up, that Largo loop's open. If any promotions want to run the Largo loop,
right? Yeah,
because of Rich and Jeremy, that is like literally the only Florida loop I know.
Yeah, I would love to see those guys on the Largo loop if there was some kind of NXT relationship there. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, any of these promotions here that was mentioned, I think would be kind of cool for them to work and get some work regularly. I know things are starting to slowly kind of pick back up in the UK. I know, I think Rev Pro is getting ready for, they've been doing their tapings and getting ready for more stuff. And I know Progress has been running, they did a show on the network. So there's some stuff in the UK that would be kind of cool, kind of get some experience on that side too. And so yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, it's just that we're not getting fans in anytime soon. That kind of calendar is a bit more stretched out. And I feel, I mean, I didn't like the Progress show, but they did it. I didn't enjoy it. They made a product. Like, kudos to you. They're slowly coming back. That's how I put it. It feels a bit more like early, kind of when the TV show's trying to figure it out in America, and it's a bit over the place. They don't quite know how to do it yet. Yes, we're more at that point. They're just coming back.
So yeah, and then this coming up Friday, we'll have the continuation of the USA New Japan Cup on Strong. So we'll have Leo Rush versus Brody King in semifinal there, and then the other semifinal will be Filthy Tom Lawler against Hickalyo. Two interesting matchups there as far as size, especially in that Leo Rush Brody King matchup there. And then the show will open up with some Young Lions action. We have Fredericks, Kevin Knight, DKC, and Alex Coughlin taking on Mysterioso, Barrett Brown, Adrian Quest, and Jordan Clearwater. And so now we're going to move over to main New Japan, talk about what's been going on the Road to Wrestling Dontaku tour. One thing we got to talk about is the announcement that came out for the stipulations for Evil versus Toru Yano for the KOPW trophy. So Yano has proposed a Creation of Darkness blindfold match, with the rules being that the stipulation would see a hood placed on each of the 4 ring posts. Pinfall, submissions, and countouts will not be in effect until one competitor placed a hood on the other.
Gecko losing his mind. I love it.
Then we have Evil's proposal, which is a darkness match, and under that stip, the lights would be turned on and off for 30-second intervals in the first 3 minutes of the match. After that point, there would be a 30-second period with the lights out for every 3 minutes of match time. So
I'm just picturing games coming up with this. Or what if we keep turning the lights off? Just keep doing it. Oh, to turn the lights off, do it again. Do it again. And then the crowd are very fit to turn off. Oh, wouldn't it be amazing? Like, they know when it's coming. It's just, it's madness. I love it. It's madness.
So what are your thoughts here on these stipulations for a KOPW match between Yano and Evil?
So, because I remember people they like the idea of King of Pro Wrestling bringing stipulations to New Japan that we don't normally kind of see, and it wasn't too weird last year. It didn't go a bit out there. This year, it's just free reign nonsense, and I think I like comedy in my wrestling. So for me, like kind of free reign nonsense, I enjoy that. I like the reigns being off. But we'll like what these stipulations. Because remember last time there was a very clear. Well, this one might be more entertaining. This one might be more serious. Like, you kind of got a very clear distinction between like the 2 offers you were getting for the KOPW stuff. Mm-hmm. These are both mad, both of them. I don't know. Because no blindfold match has ever gone well, I guess. So do I want to see that? If anyone could pull it off, is it Yano? I mean, Jake Roberts couldn't do it. Didn't he? And Evil's Darkness one, it's just, I'm reading the stipulation for that. It's almost like, I'm sorry, wait, you're platinum. What do you do for that 30-second period when you can't see anything? In a wrestling match, 30 seconds is ages. And the crowd can't see anything. Right. And you keep doing it every 3 minutes.
The crowd can't see. People at home won't see. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what they're thinking here. You know, I would prefer if they're going to do some kind of stipulation, something a little bit more of what we're kind of used to, like the Texas Bull Rope match was cool with Yano and Chase Owens, and Yano putting his twist on it, making it a YTR strap match. But yeah, this is like, I can't get too upset about this because it's KOPW.
Yeah,
they've clearly established at this point that with Yano being KOPW, it's all going to be about goofiness and fun and games, and like this is going to be a low card feud that they're going to do something just kind of to break up the cards here. And I'm not going to break this down seriously. I'm not going to try to analyze it and determine how both men move forward from here. It's just kind of this thing. It's like, oh, all right, it's there. I can probably do some errands, do some laundry while this match is going on. But yeah, I'm not invested in the KOPW stuff at this point now.
It's like, I guess coming out of this Raw, the thing that broke me the most was the women's tag team title stuff. And immediately afterwards, I'm like, but it's only the women's tag title. Who cares?
Right.
They've effectively told us they're so far up the card. Who cares if leaving is just as good as winning a match? I can't get I need to shut off about that. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. At
this point, if KLPW is going to keep Evil out of the IWGP Heavyweight title picture, I'm all for it.
Oh yeah. It's the fall from grace for Evil to be now at KLPW kind of levels. Yeah, I don't know if it's kind of like they tried the big push and it just didn't work to such a point that he's now kind of just floating about, or could he legitimately win? I don't know. I feel like Yano's keeping this for a while to properly establish the nonsense before he can pass it over to his protege, whoever that ends up being.
Yeah. I mean, he had a T-shirt for it. The trophy had this jacket. Like, this thing was just all set up for him. And honestly, I could see him running this year again and going through the whole year being KLPW.
Yeah, ditto. Yeah, it's his title. It's his title. And until we're ready for him to pass over, it's King of Pro Wrestling. It's nonsense. I do like that they're both complete and utter nonsense. It's like I don't know whether to call it excitement or just intrigue. It's one of the two.
Yeah. We had a question here from an user, the Cruise Missile, and he says, "Does KLPW really deserve the hate it gets? It gets us some fun little undercard matches with some small level of stakes, and they feel like they don't take the place of anything that would be better. Is it really any worse than filling the spot with yet another faction tag match?"
I do really believe in variety in a wrestling card. I feel like that is like a really massive plus for me. It's one of the big pluses about AEW, how you get so many styles in there when you watch one of their pay-per-views. Mm-hmm. And I'm a massive fan of comedy in wrestling. Yano is one of my G1 MVPs every single year. Every single year. James is out there going, "Get out of here, man."
Yeah. James Boyd is shaking his fist at you right now.
He legitimately every year I make sure I get Yano onto one of my top 5 lists for the G1 for at least one column, like every single year. This is like, seriously, he is my MVP, and I just love the role that he plays in the G1 especially. So I do really value Yano, and this is like a Yano world, this King of Pro Wrestling stuff. But yeah, it's like what we said then, like it's undercard matches with small levels of stakes, when if we didn't have this, we'd have a faction tag match we didn't care about, compared to this, where we're looking at it going, I'm sorry, what? Which is, I think that means I care a bit. It's better than a tag match. As in, I'm not going to whine to this because it's going to be utter nonsense. And I think that's better than a nothing tag match.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with faction tag matches, especially if they're building up to a big matchup here and there's some interesting stuff going on. I know a lot of times on these Road 2s we see a lot of this kind of the same multi-man tag matches, but if you mix it up and you do some different angles, those tag matches can be compelling and really add to the story of whatever match you're trying to build up to. As far as KPW, initially when it was announced last summer and we saw guys like Okada and Sonata that were kind of fighting some of the top guys, and it seemed like it was going to be like a new title, I was more bothered by it then. But now that we've seen it now coming up close to a year, and it's become this kind of, low card, goofy antics, a way for Yano to do, YTR strap matches and all the different kind of random two count match or whatever that one he did was, or body slam match with Fale and all those different stipulations. It's a low card, entertaining thing. I'm not worried about it. It's not happening in the main event. We're not seeing main event guys in there. So to me, it doesn't really bother me at this point. It's just like, I'm just not gonna be that invested into it. I'm not gonna play full attention. I'm not gonna give in-depth analysis on the lineage of KOPW and what it means for the company. What's this Wrestle Kingdom spot gonna be like? At this point, it's just not even worth analyzing. It's just kind of there. It's a little fun thing. You can like it or you can just skip it. I mean, if you're not doing a podcast, there's no reason why you have to watch the KOPW match. It's easily you can skip and go to the next match.
But that column is there to analyze it like it's fiend lore.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure there's probably somebody that's doing the lore of KOPW. So.
Yeah, same with you. I think in terms of it, if it does bother, it may hinge on how they introduced it. Still, where it was those top guys in Okada and Sanada, and it was a very weird introduction. And it was like, "Are you right, Kazu?" Introduction when he was explaining it. But as a Yano title, yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, like now if this was like main eventing shows and we had top guys in there, like they had Shingo doing some kind of goofy blindfold match, or Naito Okada, one of those guys that doing one of these wacky stipulations instead of being in the main event in a great matchup, then I would have problems with that. But we have our great main events lined up. There's a lot of great feuds happening in the company right now, up and down the card, and KOPW is something that you can easily just kind of turn your brain off and just skip and not let it offend you. So let's move on and talk about, we had 2 Road 2 shows that happened this past week. So Saturday, April 10th, we had the kickoff of the Road to Wrestling Dontaku. Card opened up. We had Yota Tsuji defeating Gabriel Kidd. So these guys kind of continuing their Young Lion rivalry here.
Yeah, Gabriel Kidd, my local homeboy from Nottingham. It's been awesome to see him in New Japan, just getting better and better and better. And sometimes when you watch a Young Lion and it's the way they square up with like a main guy, and whenever Gabriel Kidd does, there's just some. Oh, he and Tsuji actually, they're both the same in that manner. Like the way they square up to them, there's just something about it. It's just like, yeah, you can see why they're so much behind them. They've got so much promise, and I really enjoyed. I say I really enjoyed it. It's a Young Lion match, and it's one of those where, like, for me, these shows are on in the morning, so I'm not always like 100% with it watching these. I'm wiping the sleep from my eye, but they're the perfect matches to kind of wake into the show with. It was a strong Young Lion match, and both lads looked tough in it, which is kind of like that's a good. If you come out of those matches thinking, oh, those guys both look tough, but that one won by being the tougher one, then they nailed their match.
Yeah, and Tsuji still campaigning for his singles match with Naito. So big win here. Maybe that'll help the case for his campaign here to get that big singles match with Naito. Then next up we had Suzuki-gun team of El Desperado, Minoru Suzuki, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru defeating Roppongi 3K and Yuya Uemura. So obviously this match is building up to the junior tag title match that's coming up with the rematch of Despy and Kanemaru against Sho and Yo, and then also Yo is going to be facing off against Despy for the junior heavyweight title. So a lot of focus on this match. Suzuki-gun focus in on Yo's knee once again. So a lot of coming back from that knee injury, so obviously the bullseye's on the knee, a lot of damage there. And then you talk about Young Lions squaring up. Uemura, because continuously we've seen him squaring up with Suzuki. He clearly has a death wish, and Suzuki put him away here with single leg crab.
I do want to give a note to Sho and Yo's new theme. I've not been able to give my piece on it yet.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
It's weird. It's one of those themes that for me it doesn't fit the guys really, and on this show specifically, Kevin Kelly was trying to explain. It was like, oh, it's the theme, but it really does fit them, and it does explain their relationship where they're kind of so energetic and they don't really, they're not always entirely in sync, but they always find a way and they work together, and in the end, it does work. And I'm listening to it like, does it though? Does it? Yeah, Piano Madness. I'm not really sure. It's like at first it's like it's just a piano version of show's theme, and it's got that scatter kind of sound to it on the piano. Yeah, not a fan, but it's not the worst thing I've heard. It's just a bit weird.
Yeah, it's definitely weird. I mean, I liked the Roppongi 3K theme that Rocky did for them, and I thought it had a lot of energy and it fit them well, kind of coming out to the ring. Yeah, it's definitely gonna take a while to get used to this. Piano frenzy theme they have here. So then we had another Suzuki team in action in the middle of the show here with Doki, Taichi, and Zack Sabre Jr. defeating the Bullet Club team of Jado, Tama Tonga, Tangaloa. This feud here is setting up the tag title or rematch that's going to be coming down the line between Tekkers and GOD. Also, we have the ladder match coming up for the rights to the Iron Claw between Tama Tonga and Taichi. And then Sabre and Tangaloa will also be having a singles match down the line too. So setting up all, and also Jado and Doki have been feuding for a while now with the battle of the kendo stick and the bent pipe.
Yeah, Doki Mania going to run wild when he finally beats Jado. The crowd erupts. Yeah, my shenanigan senses are tingling for like just all of it. Really, just the way it's building up.
Yeah.
The match at Wrestle Kingdom, I'll say, set the table.
Yeah. And this match had a pretty cool finish here with all three guys getting their submissions on. So Doki had the Doki Choki on. Taichi had the stretch plum on. I forget what submission Sabre had on, but he had some kind of submission, and they got the win here via submission here of all three guys having their submissions locked in. And then we semi-main event, we had a 10-man tag elimination match here. Bullet Club versus Chaos from the Bullet Club team. We had Evil, Gato, Kenta, Taiji Ishimori, and Yujiro Takahashi. Of course, accompanied with Dick Togo. And they were against the Chaos team of Hiroki Goto, Tomohiro Ishii, Toru Yano, Yoshihashi, and then Tanahashi was with the Chaos team as well here. And also a lot of feuds going on here. We mentioned we got the Evil Yano feud going on. They're going to be facing off for KOPW. Then we have the Kenta, Taiji, and Yujiro against Goto, Ishii, and Yoshihashi feud, which this coming up week we have some singles matches with those guys and the Never Six-Man title match coming up. And then Tanahashi is feuding with Jay White for the Never Open Weight title. And Jay, not in Japan right now. Jay was actually here for Mania weekend. He was doing WrestleCon. So not in Japan. So the blacksmith, Gato, filling in for his man, Jay White here.
These elimination matches, it's one of those where I keep forgetting the rules. And like it says, in this one, Tanahashi went over the top for his elimination. And damn Dick Togo. Damn you, Dick. I didn't see him do anything. And then Tanahashi was like, I've got to let go, Dick. You're going to do something. And then I was like, oh, shit, yeah. Went through him. And it's like, oh, Tana's been eliminated. But yeah, on that one, I was like, oh, yeah, it's over the top, isn't it? Ah, piss, I keep forgetting. It's like, what do you mean he's eliminated? He didn't do anything. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I really hated they're starting to use some of the Royal Rumble tropes here, where Kenta was supposed to be eliminated by Yoshihashi, but Dick Togo put the bow staff there for him to step on. So technically, his feet did not touch the floor because his feet was elevated by the bow staff. And I'm like...
Kenta's been over the lessons he learned. All of the great stuff.
Right, yeah. That's what he learned from the PC, how to not get his feet, eliminated in the Battle Royal. But yeah, I wasn't a fan of that. Just kind of goofy there, but overall, Bull Club gets the win here. I believe Kenta was a sole survivor, if I remember correctly. I think it came out of Kenta and Yoshihashi. And then there was a beat down after the matchup here, and Kenta still has possession of the bow staff.
Yeah, for some reason, these matches when Chaos are in there, for some reason I found myself most invested when Yano's in there. It's because they're Vogue 2 shows, and Yano is always gonna Yano. It's like, what's he gonna do? Oh, what's he gonna do? And, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe that shows my level of investment when I watch the Vogue 2s. like, what are you going to do, Yano?
Then for the main event of the show, we had another elimination match, 8-man this time, with LIJ, which was consisting of Bushi, Sanada, Shingo, and Naito. And they took on the United Empire of Aaron Henare, Great Okan, Jeff Cobb, and Will Ospreay. What do you think of Hanare's new look, new name, and being a part of the United Empire?
I'm so far really liking it. So far, I'm digging him in the Empire as this fourth man. Say what you will about the way that they made space for him, but he himself seems to have fit really, really well. Especially as the other three guys are obviously above him right now, and he fits in really well as that fourth person. He's not Chase Owens when he joined the Bullet Club, aka someone has to take the pin. Right. So he's not that level. I feel like he fits in really strong, maybe because it's just 4 people. And when Ospreay announced there was going to be somebody joining, I know his name was floated about, but I wasn't expecting the kind of new look to him in presentation. And I don't know why, I just wasn't. But that man looks cool in Chase. I like it.
Yeah, I'm loving the look. They did a great job. He definitely needed a fresh coat of paint, and I think this run with the Empire is going to be great for him because he was just kind of stuck floundering. Opening of the card, and it's kind of always getting beat. And the only people he was really beating was Young Lions, and so it's good to see him getting a push here. And this match also, we have a lot of feuds going on between LIJ and the United Empire. Henare is feuding with Sanada. We have the Great Okan feuding with Naito, and then obviously Shingo is going to be challenging Will Ospreay for the IWGP World Heavyweight title coming up at Wrestling Dontaku. So building up those feuds here, coming down to Ospreay and Shingo as the sole survivor. Shingo getting the elimination on Ospreay there, so building up some momentum there of heading into the world title match.
I am so hyped for that. I just love Shingo Ospreay. Because I think that was I think I submitted a question a couple of weeks ago. I was telling Jeremy, hadn't listened to the episode, but it's just because their Best of Super Junior final it was such a special match when I watched it, and I thought their follow-up match was fantastic, and them on the main event level, it feels great to see like a match which was like a junior Best of Super Juniors final, kind of both lads get elevated to the main event, and it's great to see that. And I think the world of Shingo. Ospreay of champion, I feel like he needs those first few strong defenses. And who's stronger than Shingo?
Right, yeah, especially, with this whole new IWGP World Heavyweight title. I think, people are still down on, the lineage being gone. They're down on the design of the title. And I think to really get over that hump, you really have to set the pace here and kind of let people know, like, this is still the top title in the promotion, and the best matches are going to happen here. Having Ospreay and Bushi be the first match, great call there. And now he's facing Shingo, and the next challenger is possibly is going to be Okada. There could be a defense in between there as well. And so you having Ospreay facing these top guys and winning, having great matches, it's once again going to kind of build up that credibility for this new title and the main event scene. And people are going to really like, yes, it's a new title. The lineage is gone, but we're still going to get these great main events. And I think over time, the World Heavyweight title will build up kind of that reputation that the IWGP Heavyweight title had.
Yeah, like over time, people, if the matches are fantastic, you'll start to associate that title with the fantastic matches. So over time, nobody will care. I'm assuming it'll just be the back to amazing matches. Yeah. Hopefully, look at the names. It can't not be.
Right. Then we had another Road to Wrestling Dontaku show today, April 15th. It happened earlier this morning here. Show opened up. We had Roppongi 3K taking on Suzuki-gun. And hold on here. Actually, sorry, that was April 13th. I was jumping ahead looking at the other card. So we had Suzuki-gun, Desperado, Minoru Suzuki, and Chiba Kanemaru defeating Roppongi 3K and Gabriel Kidd here, 10 minutes. So continuing the rivalry between Roppongi 3K and Despi and Kanemaru. Had some face-off between Suzuki and Gabriel Kidd. And yeah, just seems to be a lot of focus on Yo here on the attack from Despy and Kanemaru.
Yeah, and this show completely free on New Japan World if you want to go watch it. And it's a Votu show, but it's free. It's New Japan. Go check it out. I mean, if you're listening to this podcast, surely
right,
you've got it.
I know that every once in a while there are new people that kind of pop up on the Reddit like, where do I get started? How do I get started? So if you are a new listener or if you're new to New Japan and New Japan World, yeah, this match is free on New Japan World. I think they probably will put it up on their YouTube too because it's free, so you can definitely check it out. It's a good way to kind of jump in and see the rivalries that are going on here that they're building up for Wrestling Dontaku. Second match, we had the Bullet Club team of Jado, Tamatonga, Tangaloa, defeating the Suzuki team of Doki, Taichi, and Zack Sabre Jr. So pretty much a rematch from the previous night, and Bullet Club getting their win back here.
Yes, that's pretty much what it was. Jemmy's just done a perfect rundown. I thought I could drop in here with some opinion. It's like, I don't really have opinions. Just said, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's not really much to really like break down for these, especially following a show where there's a lot of rematches. It's pretty much guys that's kind of getting some momentum back here.
It's not WWE. It's not. You don't get that feeling of again, really. But it is. It's not much to say because it's building to the same thing,
right?
Really.
The next matchup we had the Bullet Club team of Evil, Kenta, Taiji, and Yujiro defeat the Chaos team of Hiroki Goto, Tomohiro Ishii, Yoshihashi, and Tomioka Hanma. Evil got the win here over Hanma using his Scorpion Deathlock. So once again, just continuing to build up those feuds that we've been talking about here. And Bullet Club seems to be very dominant in this feud here with Chaos.
But personally, I feel like they did kind of drop off a bit, and then this past the year or so, they've kind of built them up a little. In fact, since Jay White's returned, they've put quite a bit of effort in giving them a lot more stock, and that's kind of the feeling you're getting here as well. That they're just continuing to give them a lot more of that oomph to make them feel like a top stable again. And I feel like Jay White's performances are just like the cherry on top, really, of the entire group. They found their groove once again, and the booking is kind of just going with that just to cement it.
Yeah, definitely agree with you there. Semi-main event of the evening, we had Dick Togo and Gato defeat Hiroshi Tanahashi and Toru Yano. Yes, you heard that correctly. Dick Togo and Gato.
What a mighty team.
Defeating Toru Yano and Hiroshi Tanahashi.
See, the trick is they haven't really got any hair, so they've got no distractions. They've got no complaints. Nothing.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Yano, tries to use the blindfold to win. Lights go out, come back up. Evil's at ringside with a hooded Gato on top of Yano for the pin. So obviously, once again, we're building up to this, lights out, whatever, darkness matchup here. And I believe the last time I saw the Twitter poll, Evil's stipulation was winning the darkness match with the lights going on and off throughout the match. So it seems that's what we're going to be headed towards here.
I'd make a show of it. Just go all in. I'll just make it as fancy as possible. Like big announcements, the electrified barbed wire deathmatch style countdowns. Just go all in.
Yeah, sound a siren every time the lights are about to go off.
The 3-minute one. Oh dear. I love it. And in my head, I'm like, what Yano spot could you do in the darkness? And I was trying to think of something glow in the dark that he could do, or something like a glow in the dark cup or something. It's something Yano pays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe he pulls out a flashlight or something. Who knows what Yano is going to do in a situation like that?
Oh, yeah, yes. You do a brawl into the crowd. You're doing your normal, like, Evil Yano kind of ringside shenanigans stuff in the crowd. Evil dumps Yano out in the crowd when the lights go out. And you think, oh, no, how's Yano going to get back? The lights are out. How's he going to get back? And there's a counts happening as well.
Right, yeah.
For the referee. And he's like, 18, 19. And it's all in darkness.
And light comes back on like the last second Yano's in the ring.
Yeah, just suddenly I'm in.
Oh man, yeah, we're gonna see a lot of shenanigans in that matchup there.
It's one of those where I'm talking about it. I'm like, no, we can't get this over. No, bring it back.
Then the main event of this evening, we had United Empire, Aaron Henare, Great-O-Khan, Jeff Cobb, Will Ospreay defeating the LIJ team of Bushi, Sanada, Shingo, and Naito. So United Empire getting the win back here from the previous night. Jeff Cobb hitting the Tour of the Islands on Bushi to get the win here. And I gotta say, I love the way Cobb has been kind of doing these kind of different setups for the Tour of the Islands, and this one here, he did kind of like a running version of it with the spin, and it's just like he keeps finding kind of new, innovative ways, especially with some of these lighter guys that he's in there with, to make the Tour of the Islands look even more impressive.
Yeah, so I think that my favourite one I've ever seen was against Matt Riddle in Progress. He did the because he's also which move he does before the Tour of the Islands that I love as well, because he's varying that up as well before then doing the actual thing. But I think my favourite was when he does the pop-up German, which is fantastic that he does. And to do that, I think he did that into a destroyer into the Tour of the Islands.
Oh my gosh.
Piss off.
What a combo.
So good.
Oh man.
But yeah. He's a beast, and I do love all the it's not like you don't see it coming. It's like, oh, what's he gonna do? But I do love the variety that he's been mixing in with it.
Yeah. So now we're going to take a look at some of the cards that we have coming up for this week. We have 4 more royalty shows coming up this week here to look at. So coming up on April 15th, show will open up with Roppongi 3K and Hanma against Despi, Suzuki, and Kanemaru. Then we'll have Suzuki and team of Doki, Taichi, and Zack Sabre Jr. versus Shadow, Tamatonga, and Tangaloa. Then we'll have the Chaos team of Goto, Ishii, Yano, and Yoshihashi teaming up with Tanahashi to take on the Bullet Club team of Evil, Gedo Kenta, Taiji Shimori, and Yujiro Takahashi. In the semi-main, we'll have Bushi and Naito against Great-O-Khan and Jeff Cobb. And then on the main event, we will have Sanada and Shingo against Aaron Henare and Will Ospreay. So pretty much a lot of what we've kind of been seeing on this Road to Tour so far. I think the most interesting stuff here is probably going to be those 2 semi-main events with the LIJ United Empire tags. Very interesting to see how Henare and Ospreay kind of work as a team there in that main event.
Yeah, the same, just honed in a bit more because it's 2-on-2 instead of the so many men. I'm with the Road 2s. That is one of the things I like, where earlier on you start off with all of the characters there and they kind of just whittle down to the important ones in these main events. And that's pretty much what's happening here. Just getting to focus in on those tactics. And of course, seeing Henare for the first time, like with the captain. We've seen Khan and Cobb quite a bit, but interesting to see how Henare does.
Yeah, I think we're going to learn what his role is here, if he's going to end up being the pin eater. Because, I mean, they're going against Sanada and Shingo. And Shingo's not taking a loss here going into this, unless he gets pinned by Ospreay. But I don't see Shingo getting pinned here. So I think either Sanada's going to pin Henare or Henare's going to pin Sanada. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here if Henare can pick up a big win here in the main event.
So what does Lasser say about Hook in AW? Oh, Hook's a goon. That's what he says. So we'll learn where Henare falls.
Yes, we'll learn.
Henare a goon?
Is Henare on goon status with Hook? Then on April 18th, we'll have Roppongi 3K and Hanma taking on Despi, Suzuki, and Kanemaru again. Then we'll have Doki, Taichi, Zack Sabre Jr. against GOD again, and Jado. Then we'll have Chaos versus Bull Club again of Goto, Ishii, Yano, and Yoshihashi teaming with Tanahashi against Evil, Gedo, Kenta, Taichi, Ishimori, and Yujiro Takahashi. And then semi-main and main event, once again, we'll have some LIJ versus Empire. This time, they switched it up. It's going to be Bushi and Shingo against Cobb and Ospreay. And then the main event's going to be Sanada and Naito against Aaron Henare and the Great-O-Khan.
Also, one little touch is that Hanma on the card means we're not getting Hanma on the commentary. I just want to say. Yes. Sounds like gravel down a rain pipe. He is. Oh, it's this. It makes me laugh, but doesn't mean it's nice to listen to.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I just want to hear my Milano Collection AT. I don't need any Hanmas.
That was a nice treat with the Stardom show. It's like, oh, Milano. Yes.
Yeah, I love mulatto commentary.
In terms of commentary as well, it's been quite nice having Kevin Kelly for these as well.
Yeah.
Just because I'm just used to, because I don't speak Japanese, and I've not even really tried to learn it. I can count to 10. Does that count? I know when they say numbers. When they say the weight, I know how heavy they are. that's all my use. How tall are they? I'm in. But yeah, the Kevin Kelly trying to explain the stories and things and trying to get some of it over. Like, you can't get the Roppongi 3K theme over. It's not going to happen, Kevin.
he's trying. He's working hard.
Yeah, you need Chris Charlton's history of the Roppongi 3K theme and pianos. Just history of pianos. Really sell it.
They're going to come with some story. Well, actually, Sho and Yo took piano classes when they were in grade school and played a similar melody.
We'll find out if Chris listens to the show at all by...
Yeah. Then following this, we have a Road show on April 19th. Found a little bit of a shake-up here. So opening up, we'll have Tanahashi teaming with Hanma and Toriano to take on the Bullet Club team of Dick Togo, Evil, and Gato. Then second match of the night, we'll have LIJ team of Bushi, Sanada, Shingo, and Naito taking on all of the United Empire. And then the last three matches will all be singles matches. This is building up for the Never Six Man that will be happening the following night. So first we'll have Tomohiro Ishii against Yujiro Takahashi. Then in the semi-main event, we'll have Hiroki Goto versus Taiji Ishimori. And then in the main event, it'll be Kenta versus Yoshihashi. So, Imp, what are you thinking here? Do you think we'll see one team pull a clean sweep, win all three? Will we get a mixed match of some? What do you think is going to happen here?
Because Bullet Club have been booked so strong, I kind of want to say that we're going to see that show up on this card here, but never doubt Yano. Yano's not even the card, is he? No, I'm an idiot. No, that's Yujiro Takahashi.
Yeah, Yano's in the opener tag there.
Oh, he is. Yeah. So I'll go with clean sweep aside from Yano. I reckon in this we're going to see trade-off of Evil's tactics via the darkness work and then Yano's tactics via the blindfold work.
Well, they're in the tag match here. In the singles, it's Ishii against Yujiro, Goto versus Taiji, and then Kenta versus Yoshihashi.
Yeah, it's just 50-50 book that shit all the way through. Well, so whoever's turn it is on rotation for this show, that's the one who wins that opening one. I don't know for the singles matches. They look like ones where you would go, that's like you go Ishii, Goto, Kenta, maybe. But depends what statements have been. Again, it's what I like about the voting shows. Depends what statements have already been sent before this show.
Yeah, I think if there's going to be a clean sweep in those singles matches, it'll probably be chaos just because they have been on a losing end so much. And I think Ishii, I have a hard time seeing Yujiro beat Ishii, so I think Ishii will get that win there. And Yujiro did eliminate him over the top in the elimination match, so that could be Ishii kind of getting his win back there. Taiji has pinned Goto twice now, and so there's been kind of shenanigans involved in multi-man matches. So in a straight-up one-on-one, I have a hard time seeing Taiji beat Goto, so I think Goto will get the win here. But yeah, Kenta and Yoshihashi is the one where I think it can kind of go either way. But with it being Yoshihashi, I kind of feel like Kenta will get the win here and stop the clean chaos sweep and kind of leave what's some heat to go into the following night.
It's that line of thinking that's broken many a New Japan Cup.
But I mean, Yoshihashi could get the win as well, and you could have a chaos clean sweep. For the most part, I mean, these matches could end up going either way if these guys are going to be out there in their shenanigans. But I definitely think you got to give something to the chaos guys. So I think we'll see at least 2 or 3 get wins here.
Yeah, especially that opening match. Like, there's no way Dick, Togo, Evil, and Gato. Like, come on, there's no way that doesn't end in shenanigans. Yeah,
that's gonna be shenanigans full. I would think that the Hanma Yano Tanahashi team would get the win there.
The entrepreneurial spirit is resilient, and U.S. Bank is here to make sure that no matter what unknown pops up, business owners know that we have their back. Because problem solvers are the ones that keep us all moving forward by finding ways to close gaps, even when distances are being kept everywhere. So whatever you need to adapt and evolve your business, U.S. Bank is here to support you. U.S. Bank. We'll get there together. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
That takes us to April 20th, which will be the last Road 2 until the next time we record. And that'll open up with Roppongi 3K and Hanma against Despi, Suzuki, and Kanemaru. We'll have Doki, Taichi, and Sabre once again against Shadow and God. Then we'll have Tanahashi and Yano against Evil and Gato. Then in the semi-main, we will have LIJ, Bushi, Sanada, Shingo, and Naito against United Empire. And then in the main event, we will have the never openweight 6-man tag team title match. Goto, Ishii, and Yoshihashi defend their titles against the Bullet Club team of Kenta, Taiji Shimori, and Yujiro Takahashi. Imp, are we going to get new champs, or will this Chaos team retain and keep on rolling on?
This is Gedo booking getting in my head. So they've made Bullet Club relatively strong so far going into this tour. I expect that to continue throughout the rest of the road. However, because it's Gedo, he's either doing that because he really wants to give some oomph to Bullet Club so they'll win here, or because it's Gedo, he's doing that because they're not going to win. He's going to stay on the guys. And I don't know which way he's going to swerve. Because also, it's never 6-man. Like, there's not a lot of weight and stock put on it, so it could easily change hands as much as it could be retained. So at the end of the day, it's like the lowest ranked title in the company.
Right, but Goto, Ishii, and Yoshihashi have been doing great work. They've been doing great work with those titles, and they've been having some great title defenses and really kind of elevated just the level of this title here. And normally these titles are kind of hot potato throughout the year, but they've had several defenses now that have been holding on to it for quite some time now. Because they won that was like Summer Struggle, right? That they end that tournament that they won that, so they've had the titles. It's been quite a minute now that they've had the titles, so we could see a defense.
I'm thinking if it's like a setting the scene for Jay White and Hiroshi Tanahashi, then you could use this for us to already see Bullet Club guys dethrone Chaos guys. I mean, Tanahashi's tagging with them, so he's close enough. It's close enough to work.
Right, yeah. Chaos and Hontai are all kind of mixed up right now. And something to think about is Wrestling Dontaku is the Bullet Club anniversary. So if you want those guys to kind of go in strong and have something to celebrate coming into the Wrestling Dontaku shows, you could have this team here win the Never 6-man titles. And
Gado's not Vince. It's like, oh, Big E's from Tampa. I feel like that puts a lot of kind of weight behind kind of pushing the Bullet Club and getting Jay White that title,
right?
Just because of that anniversary.
Yeah, and then you could have Bullet Club having all the Never titles. I don't know. I think I'm gonna go with the Chaos team retaining here. I feel like they have just been on the bottom end of this feud, and even if they do pick up wins the previous night, I still think there's just been a lot of heat on them. You've had Kenta with the Bo staff, and all the promos and backstage promos he's been doing with the Bo staff, and just stealing that Bo staff, and Goto being embarrassed by being pinned by Ishimori twice now, and Ishii getting eliminated by Yujiro, and there's constant beatdowns of these guys post matches. There's been so much heat that's been built up. I really feel that the Chaos guys need some comeuppance here, and I think a great title defense here would do that for them.
Yeah, I think I've convinced myself the other way. but yeah, it could go either way.
Yeah, honestly, if the Bullet Club team wins, I wouldn't be surprised. That's the nature of the Never 6-man, and like we mentioned, there's a ton of reasons why you could want to put the belts on them. And Kenta, Yujiro, and Taiji, that would be an interesting little unit there going forward. But I know I really love the Goto, Ishii, Yoshihashi team. I don't think they should take it off of them just yet. And yeah, I think they should retain the titles here. And that wraps up what's coming up on the road to Wrestling Dontaku. Now we just have a quick few news items here to touch on. Then we'll get into some of the other questions and then a recommended match of the week. So first thing here, due to the growth in COVID numbers, the government in Japan has put new restrictions back on all sports events and have limited them to a 5,000 capacity. So that's really going to hurt New Japan as they get ready for Wrestling Grand Slam in Yokohama Stadium and in the Tokyo Dome. They're planning on having more people for both of those shows, especially the stadium show. They're hoping to get some more people in there. So now they're restricted to 5,000. It's going to be similar to Summer Struggle in Jingu. They're out in that big baseball field stadium there with limited capacity. I believe it was 5,000 then as well. So that's going to be a big hit to these shows here.
Yeah, and like says Yokohama, I've been playing Yakuza 7 or Yakuza Like a Dragon. It's set in Yokohama. Yokohama's become my home. Yeah. The 5,000 is definitely going to hurt it. Because I feel like watching these Road 2s, I think one thing I like as a foreigner is the sense of an atmosphere and the people being there clapping. They're not allowed to really cheer or make much noise, but it's so much better than nothing. Again, like one fan is a much bigger difference than a 0 to 1 is a much bigger difference than like 50 to 100.
Right.
Just that one person making noises makes so much difference. And yeah, them bringing the capacity down is definitely going to hurt it. But this time, they're not going to have those bloody clap machines. They're not going to do that. They've learned, I feel like. They've learned a bit. And yes, it counts, especially for Yokohama. Is there a kind of, like a longevity for this? Like, have they given how long it's going to have to stay at this level?
So I have not seen how long that this limitation is going to be on for, but people are assuming that it's going to be on leading into these two Wrestling Grand Slam.
Right, yeah. So they've got this massive stadium, and it's going to have to be like Jingu was last year, where you can just scatter them across the field a bit, and that's your lot. Yeah.
I guess it really depends on what the numbers look like. I guess going into the beginning of the month, if the numbers get any better, maybe they can lift the restriction a little bit. Or if numbers get worse, who knows? They might even try to lower the capacity. So we'll see.
Yeah, I know that here it's you put something in place. It's every 3 weeks you assess it. So Japan are pretty on it. I will say that.
Yeah.
I know they got in a bit of. I say Prime Minister got a bit of trouble last year because he kind of eased it a bit, and then stuff went to crap, and he got a lot of the blame for that because he's one of who goes in public and kind of said we're going to lax a bit. But since then, they've been pretty tight on it. So I'm with you. Like, if anything, if you don't see numbers go down, like, yeah, don't expect them to WrestleMania, but you go, oh, we'll give you an exception. You're such good boys.
Right. But yeah, especially with, both it's gonna hurt both shows because with Yokohama Stadium in that outdoor arena, like with the sound travel. I guess like we mentioned that they're not gonna be cheering, but it's a claps. It's just not gonna seem as much with them in that big arena, and the sound's not gonna travel really well there. And then in the Tokyo Dome with only 5,000 people, depending on how it's set up and how close they are, that's gonna hurt too in that arena.
And like because the other thing I was thinking was it all escapes into the sky, and it's a bit like this might show the level of school I went to, but it's that experiment where somebody in a distance and you clap 2 bricks together, make a loud clang in the distance. Yeah, that's right. So we were so upper class we used bricks. So as in it's just like a one. Like that's it. And it just goes up, and eventually you would hear it when you get to there. It's just a bit awkward, and there's a reason why at Jingu they were like, "Oh, we need cheering of some kind, right?" Because the claps just escape into the sky,
right?
So I don't quite know what the atmosphere will be like unless they have microphones flipping everywhere to get every one of those claps.
Yeah.
Aside from that, I really don't know.
Or maybe they try to get people seated closer to the ring. Maybe they do like all kind of floor seating and try and get people. I don't know if you've seen anything like the Warrior Wrestling kind of setups that they did for their stadium shows last summer. They kind of had a lot of people on the field distance and closer to the ring. So maybe they can try and do something similar to that.
Yeah, it sucks for them obviously because they had such big plans to go to this stadium, put on this big show. And I stuck with another Jingu.
Yeah. And other news, Yuji Nagata in Tokyo Sports has accepted Jon Moxley's challenge for the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship. Where that match will happen, we don't know yet. Nagata has not been on the Dontaku tour. So my assumption is that this match will probably happen on Strong. He's probably here quarantining, and then the next set of tapings, they'll probably tape the big match and then air it on New Japan Strong. Or, I mean, who knows? Maybe they somehow worked out a deal to get it on Dynamite.
I mean, to give it the Dynamite lights. Oh, yes. Just, yeah, in my dreams. That's where this one takes place.
The world needs Yuji Nagata on TNT once again. I mean,
I just want to. I feel like the American audience would just go mental for him having his face on the underneath of his shirt. Like, oh my god, that's amazing! Yeah, it is. Yes. I love it.
Yeah,
and we get his proper theme as well. Not your bloody copyright protected the one that starts off all piratey.
Yeah,
it goes into it. Yeah.
We got Tony Schiavone back on TNT. We got the Giant back on TNT. We got Sting back on TNT. Now we just gotta get Yuji Nagata back on TNT.
Oh yes, with his I forgot what the show's called. With his Dragon Ball Z style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody find Sonny Ono to bring him down to the ring. Let's get all the nostalgia going here for this big match with Moxley.
As niche nostalgia as possible. For those who remember Yuji Nagata in WCW.
What did you think about Mox calling out Nagata here and his kind of plan for going, big game hunting?
Well, my immediate reaction was just like, yes, flipping yes, just to see this, because I genuinely forgot that Suzuki and Mox had a match, and when Sam reminded me, it was just like, wait, are you sure? And he'd got a screenshot of it to present it to me. It was like, oh. Piss, it did. I think you might have sent me the New Japan link or something. Because it was right before everything went to hell. And I remembered the challenge so vividly. And I still don't to this day for some reason remember anything about the match. It's Suzuki Moxley. But him pretty much going down that road of, I'm going to challenge all of the badasses. And that's who I'm going to be defending this belt against. I'm all in on that. Just like one by one, you fire them over, have Moxley have a little bit of a thing with them, send them back, have your big badass match. I'm all in on that.
Yeah. So I'm all in on Moxley. Facing off guys like Nagata and kind of having these strong style matches for the U.S. title. It might be a kind of an interesting transition that we're seeing here, because with the Never title, we're seeing Tanahashi and Jay White, who are also Tanahashi can wrestle that strong style. We saw him do that with Shingo. But Tanahashi against Jay White's probably going to just be a Tanahashi-Jay White match, and there's been so much of the build-up has been on the Tanahashi tap-out versus the Jay tap-out, and I feel like that's going to be a heavy submission-based matchup. So with Moxley now, he faced Suzuki, he faced Kenta, now he's getting ready to face Yuji Nagata. We could be seeing the IWGP US title kind of transition into the the quote unquote strong style title, or that hard hitting style of title. So I'm all in for Mox facing off guys like Nagata, and who knows who he's gonna to face off with against next. But yeah, definitely gonna be interesting to see where this match ends up, if it's gonna end up on Strong or potentially maybe even Dynamite. So we'll see what happens there.
Yes, I heard every word you were saying, and obviously, Jeremy would have just seen me just run away. He's like, "Where's he gone?"
I'm used to young boy jumping off and going into the bathroom in the middle of points, so I know how to keep it going.
A little bit of behind the scenes little stuff there.
Pull the curtain back.
He just leaves during my power gas of amazingness.
In other news, Will Ospreay was recently on the cover of Weekly Pro Wrestling magazine, and it's been reported that it's one of the highest-selling magazines they've ever done. So we're starting to see some of the Ospreay effect here as champion, with Dontaku Night 2 selling out 24 hours. This Weekly Pro Wrestling magazine doing great numbers. So it seems like, Ospreay as IWGP World Heavyweight Champion has been a good call so far, business-wise.
Yeah, because that's one of the things that I feel like we can't really assess that well, but it's the sex of the thing in Japan. And if he's selling out that quickly in Japan, then yeah, locally it's a really good business move. It's not really much more critique I can give.
Right, and I know a lot of people might be thinking, oh, well, it's a limited capacity crowd that they sold out. But if you think about it, though, we've had limited capacity shows for a year now, almost a year now, and none of them have been selling out quickly. Like eventually, they eventually they might get to us out after a while, or you might have some walk-ups, but you don't get that 24-hour immediately sellout, and that's what we got with the Ospreay Shingo match. And so there's definitely an interest domestically, at least with Ospreay as champion. And I think that's going to be, for all the Ospreay haters, a bad sign. If Ospreay's doing good business right now, in a time where things are hard, you want good business, that could lead to Ospreay having a longer title run than expected.
Yeah, it's outside of Japan that obviously he's lost quite a bit. I don't know, like, for example, after all this, I don't know if he's the answer to them pushing to the West with, just because of the amount of kind of clashback. But like locally in Japan, if it's working, I guess why not? Why not go for it? Times are tough. It seems to be working. Go with it. Shingo and Ospreay is a hot feud. Why would you not run it?
Exactly. And then speaking of one of the guys who will be main eventing for the world title, Kazuchika Okada, this past week, he was seen running with the Olympic flame through Aichi. So clearly the Okada still the ace and kind of getting a big little moment there, part of the Olympics ceremony there. And
yeah, it's, as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh, Okada, that's awesome. And it's just the fact that he's carrying the torch with his grommet from the Wallace and Gromit kind of grin. It just makes me, it's just, yeah. Again, for New Japan to have like one of their wrestlers carrying the Olympic torch, that for me kind of just shows where they are in society to actually get that spot.
Yeah. And last thing I have here, free match of the week, the Never Openweight 6-man championship tournament finals from Summer Struggle with Yano, Sho, and Okada versus Ishii, Goto, and Yoshihashi. That's the matchup where Goto, Ishii, and Yoshihashi won the 6-man titles during that Summer Struggles tour. So obviously they're trying to get you guys, get everybody hyped up for the 6-man match coming up on the 20th. All right, now we got some questions here from listeners to go through here. So first, a question from Reddit user Grunty Dodds. He says, now that Ibushi's first reign is over, the consensus on Cage Match is that his worst offense was against Sanada and his best was against Jay White. Do you agree?
He didn't have that many. Really, so right. It's not that long a list to really choose from.
So he defended. His first offense was against Jay. Then he defended against Sanada. Then he defended the IC. Well, he defended against Desperado. Yeah. Then he defended the IC against Naito, and then defended the new title against Ospreay.
I mean, the Despy one is the one that caught me the most by surprise. I mean, when I say surprise, I meant I was expecting this to be like a big moment for Despy. But then when the match happened, I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was, even though I'd seen Despy kind of rise up. So that one caught me by surprise. I think I'd have to agree, just because I rate all the others higher. It has to be Sanada. Just because obviously Naito and Ibushi are flipping mental together. Stop booking them against each other. Yeah. The Ospreay match was also special. And again, I was just talking about the Despy match, and the one against Jay White for me is still match of the year out of everything I've seen. So it's one of those where I'm not calling the match bad, but it's just because it was quite. When you look at the matches overall, he did have a good run, like in terms of the quality of the matches. But yeah, so that by default ends up, because I won't give it the worst; it's the least best.
Yeah, I think I went 4 stars flat. I think on the Ibushi Sanada match, and. It was a good matchup for what it was, but, some of the other defenses just kind of went to that next level, that kind of big match, main event style that you're used to getting in those main events. And, yeah, the Jay White match at the Dome was awesome. And I don't know if you want to count in a defense of the world title, but even though he lost, obviously, the Ospreay match was awesome, too. So I think that's I would kind of be between the Jay and Ospreay for his best defense, but definitely agree that the Sanada match was the weakest of his defenses.
Yeah, with the Ospreay one, I forgot that I got a new card, and I forgot to update New Japan World with my new card. And the weekend where it was going to be Sacrigenesis, that's when New Japan went, "Oh, you haven't given us your money, so." And it was like at the end of March when he sent me that, and I'm like, "Oh no, I'm gonna have to wait." So I had to wait to watch Sacrigenesis. So I saw all of the hype about it before going in, which I 100% know affects my enjoyment of a thing, because I've got a bar in front of me. I like going in completely blind, not expecting any kind of level of anything. If it sucks, I want to find out by myself. I don't want to go in going, well, I know it sucks, or anything like that. I mean, I was saying on the Raw review, I would have liked for Raw to know that, and I'd like some warning. But yeah, with Ospreay Bushi, I did have like a bit of spoilers going in, which was a bit of the show. So I didn't enjoy it as much as I would have if I'd been able to watch it when it happened.
Yeah.
So like, I went in knowing the result, which for a New Japan match is like the worst sin. Because that tension at the end, it's just not there when you're watching the back and forth, because you know who's going to win in the end. It was still a really solid match. So maybe I need to watch it a few months down the line.
Yeah, I always try to avoid spoilers as much as I can, not hear people's even opinions on if they thought it was just good. Because even then, if it gets super hyped up, then I'm expecting, something really great. And then even if it might be good, if it hit that like really great level, then I'm like kind of let down. Or if, you hear something sucks and then it's actually being pretty good, it's like, oh, I can kind of find out for myself.
Like, for me, it's like even something as minor as just like watching the entrance. Is like, I don't want anything spoiled for me. I want to watch the entrance and go, holy shit, O'Connor's out there with a dinosaur. Like, I want that
next question here from Rainbow Slam Pig. He says, I haven't heard anything about Dragon Lee since he got pulled from Best of Super Junior last year. I know travel is limited now, but is there any news about whether he's coming back? So I haven't heard anything about Dragon Lee coming back to New Japan yet. I know he recently had like an ear surgery that had him miss the ROH anniversary show and the latest set of ROH tapings. But I think he's going to be good to go for the next set of tapings that they do. And it's kind of up in the air when Best Super Juniors is going to be, because we have Wrestle Grand Slam happening during the normal Super Junior time period, and then Dominion's right after Wrestle Grand Slam. So it seems like Best Super Juniors might end up back in that that fall kind of time period with World Tag League. So by then, I would think maybe you would be able to get Dragon Lee into the country for that.
Yeah, I didn't know that about his ear, so I was wondering why he wasn't on the Ring of Honor tapings. But if that's the answer, makes a lot of sense. I mean, the name I'm going to throw out there that I really, really want to see is Andrade. Just by that point, like I can't remember where, because I know he's a former Intercontinental Champion, but if I remember rightly, I feel like he was brought in for the CMLL stuff, and he'd stick around and did a few things, but he was never like established as a proper like guy who'd be featured relatively often. I'd like to see him in that status.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, I'd be all in on Andrade coming in. I don't know if he would be a junior though. I think he'd probably be in the heavyweight division. But yeah, I'd be all in on him coming in. We have a question here from Kevin Crawford. He says, any predictions on the main event for Dominion? Does Ospreay carry the IWGP Championship headed into that event?
When would he be wrestling Okada?
So that would be Wrestle Grand Slam in the Tokyo Dome.
That's the one. In terms of does he or not? Because I could see them very easily continuing to tell the story of Ospreay's good, but he doesn't beat Okada. Oh, no, did he win at Wrestle Kingdom?
No, he lost to Okada.
Yeah. So the story makes sense. Yeah, so yeah, that's what I might go with. Is he? Yeah, he's really, really good, but Okada beats him. Maybe.
So if he retains, though, who does he go up against? Dominion.
Oh, Naito? I don't really know.
Well,
I can't think. I'm trying to think who's big enough.
Right. Well, because the thing is, they haven't announced a title defense for the Yokohama Stadium show, which is in between the Shingo match and the Okada match. So I would think that they would want to do a title match at the stadium. And last week I said that I think that Ospreay's going to beat Shingo, and then afterwards Naito would come out and then challenge him, and then you do Naito Ospreay at the stadium. Winner of that faces Okada at the Dome, and go on from there. So then you would have Ospreay beating Shingo, beating Naito to get to Okada. Which could be, if he loses, that could be his excuse. Like, I had to go through these two very tough opponents to get to you where you weren't doing anything, and that could lead to Okada winning. But yeah, I'm not quite sure. I feel like I think it might. I mean, I know Okada's been off the belt for a while, and I know he is eventually going to get this new world title and get a run with it. But I just don't know if now is the right time for it.
Yeah, because I know New Japan have got that pattern of like the first reign of a new champion, especially a heel champion. They don't have it normally for that long.
Right.
And it's, as in like the very first one, like for example, Okada's first reign wasn't super long. It was the next one where he got a good run with it. It's like they give him a little test run. And Evil was why. You get a little test run before giving him the big and mighty one. So that's why I really don't know with Ospreay. He could lose it. I think that's what's going to lend to this reign being really unpredictable, because he really could lose it to anyone at any time just because he's a newly elevated guy. It's his first reign. We have no idea what level of guy is going to defeat him or what they were going into. And because I was thinking, do even before he loses it, do we get Ospreay Zack Sabre Jr. in the main event as well as the two British RevPro guys? That could be the in-between one, but that's, for me, if that is an in-between one, that isn't really a match that sets anything up to go to the stadium. But Naito 100% would, because he's like, I'm Naito, I main event the stadium.
Right.
So it makes sense for him to be that next challenger. I think that one makes the most sense.
Yeah. Then for Dominion, I'm trying to think who would be next, whether Okada or Ospreay win. First name is, I think, Ibushi. At that point, he would have been out of the title picture for a couple months now, and I mean, you could have Ospreay beat Okada and then kind of do the big rematch with Dominion, Ospreay, Ibushi, and Ibushi can get the belt back there.
I mean, yeah, even Ibushi Okada, because they didn't face each. I'm trying to get my dates right. They didn't face each other this Wrestle Kingdom.
Right. Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Did they face in the G1? Within the same block? Can't remember.
Yeah, I'm blanking right now. I think they might have been.
Yeah, I was saying, because the other block was Naito, Sanada, and Evil. They must have been the same block. I was trying to think if their Wrestle Kingdom match was like the last time they had like a proper confrontation outside of a tournament.
Yeah.
And that's how I see that by Dominion. That's a year and a half ago. So it could be that. It all depends on what on earth the plan is with Ospreay. Yeah. How long do they want him to run with it?
Yeah, I'm gonna just throw out early prediction. I'm gonna go with Ospreay Ibushi match for Dominion, especially with such a short build between the Dome and Dominion. You need a match that doesn't really need that much build, and you can just have Ibushi come out and be like, you got my title. This is that world title is my idea. You have it. You beat me. I want my rematch. I want another shot to beat you, kind of thing. And so I think it's very easy to set up Ibushi Ospreay.
Actually, as well, and the amount of time, when I was talking about the heel having that short reign, the amount of times it's been the same opponent they beat that's defeated them, like Tanahashi, Okada, Evil, Naito. I know they're the only two examples bringing up, but it is 10 to 2 in the morning. I can't remember all of them. But yeah, that's a pattern New Japan quite like, just to kind of, I feel like weirdly it does help get the champion that you want to the G1 with the belt without it feeling like they've had it for too long or you're repeating anything.
Yeah.
Because in the middle you had like that different champion. And unless you're Okada on a mega run, it kind of just splits it up a bit.
Yeah. Next question here from King Darkwing 510. What faction needs to be disbanded the most? I know a lot of people say Bullet Club, but I'm going to say Chaos.
Ooh. Team Taguchi. That's the big one.
Is that even still a faction?
I don't know. Taguchi seems to be just tagging with random people, and he's in there to sell his butt in pain. I guess nowadays that's pretty much all he does.
Yeah.
Really. I He's an interesting follow on Twitter. I'll put it out there. The faction that needs to disband the most. That's an interesting one. I think I put the idea into Sam's head of it's like not disbanding, but leaders taking over. So it's a little shift. Like Naito put out feelers of to say that he would love one of LIJ to take over his faction. Like he'd be willing, like, come on, take the ball, take my faction over. I'm begging you, type of stuff. The other one would be someone taking over Suzuki Gun, just like Suzuki took over and made it Suzuki Gun. Yeah, that's another one. I don't know if I'd like to be ZSJ or Taichi, but one of those two, I feel like they're in a perfect place to be one of them. I don't know if I would totally disband any of them. If I'm gonna rank them, if I'm ranking them, it probably has to be Chaos.
Yeah, I think Chaos has just kind of lost some focus here.
Yeah.
There's just been, the whole of them kind of blending with Hontai, and they essentially are kind of just like at one point, at this point, they're pretty much just one faction at this point, because they often team so much in the multi-mans, and they help each other out, and so I feel like there could be a new direction for Chaos. Maybe you have somebody try to overthrow Okada and take it in a different direction. And there was a question that I missed earlier from Reddit that came in from Reddit user Kaiju917. It says, Show expressed aggregation that Yo was getting a title shot on the post-match commentary of the first night of the Road to Wrestling Dontaku. I'm not one of the people who wanted to see Roppongi 3K break up, but is it starting to seem somewhat likely? If that happens and Show turns on Yo, where does he go? Bullet Club? I don't see a connection there. So Empire? Is it too soon for them to get yet another member? I feel like Chaos is due for a shakeup. They seem a little big and aimless right now, and Empire still lacks any juniors.
Actually, the junior shout's an interesting one. I mean, ever since Yo came back, that has been... As soon as he came back, I'm like, I mean, you've not shaved your head, but there's something here. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the crappy piano. Even if they used to practice at school together and it's a tying bond. There's something about it where it just feels like something where he could just be... I've got no idea if I'm definitely coming through, by the way, because Jeremy's frozen for me.
I'm hearing you. Are you hearing me?
You hear me? Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. You froze smiling, so it was good for my ego. No idea. But yeah, something about it where I'm just like, I'm waiting for that turn. I don't know what's going to happen. What's going to cause it? It feels like it's the WWE brain where one's been out injured, the other without them has really succeeded and done really well and really proven themselves. So when the other one returns, they super kick them in the face. That's WWE's thing.
Right.
You're getting kicked. They've not done that. Yo's come back, and again, it's that WWE brain. It's like, yes, he's come back because he's sowing the seeds. He's getting close to him, so that dick kick is just, it's full of emotion as well. It's not just a shock in the moment. It's going to emotionally break him. But I feel like that's that WWE brain in me. I'm in my head always putting, when are you going to break up the team? It's all Vince's fault. That's
right.
Not normal messing.
Yeah, several of us were like, oh, yeah, there's going to be some kind of turn as soon as Yo comes back. And they're doing a slow burn here. And I do feel like, they are trying to shift the focus on Yo. He's getting a lot of sympathy with the attacks on the knee. He's getting this single titles match. He has a new look. They have this new music with him coming back. And so a lot of the attention is going on Yo, where Show has been there, grinding it out all year, having great matches in Best Super Juniors and matches against Shingo in last year's New Japan Cup, and really kind of, breaking through. And so, Show could be kind of feeling, some jealousy here. Like, why is Yo getting this title shot? I should get a title shot against Despy. And so maybe it's one of those things they end up losing the junior tag titles back to Despy and Kanemaru, and then Yo fails to beat Despy, and that Yo kind of comes out, and you think Show's going to help Yo to the back, and he turns on him there. Or maybe Yo wins the title, and Show comes out as the first challenger. And it starts off like, it's a friendly challenge, but then they have a title match, and Show cheats to win.
Oh, I think I like that. because it kind of fits with like a show has had quite a few chances whilst Yo's been out, and then Yo just come back and immediately does it, and there's your spark, and shows the big muscly bastard, and he's got the emo fringe where he can drape it over and go for full emotion. I feel like I've been back and forth in my head which one would be the better heel, and I don't know. I feel like Yo has just a little bit too much baby oil to be a heel. You ain't booing a man that slippery.
Yeah, I think Sho could be the heel here. And as far as where he would go, I mean, I think he could go in the Empire. Like people said, they do need a junior in that faction. I don't want to see him in Bullet Club. I think Bullet Club's a little bit bloated right now, and there's plenty of juniors there. I don't think Bullet Club needs anybody else. I don't really see him fitting in with Suzuki-gun. I mean, maybe you could do that, but I don't know. I think Empire would probably be the best option for him.
Yeah, if he's going to do that, yeah. It just for me, the bit that sold it was that point that they don't have a junior.
Right.
So, yeah. New Japan make sure every base is covered in their factions.
And the whole thing with the Empire, they've been kind of taking guys who have been getting the short end of the stick, and guys who feel like they've been underutilized or been misused by New Japan management. And so you have that in Cobb, Okan, and Hanare, all three guys who kind of had gripes and feel like they should be getting better spots. And so that could be Sho, a guy who feels like he should be the champion, should be getting better spots, should be in more main events. So joining the Empire could be kind of the motivation for that right there.
Yeah, I'm in on that, yeah.
Let's see. Next question here from Shadrock. He asks, aside from the Bullet Club, I really don't understand factions in JPW. What does Chaos do exactly?
There's the whole history of Chaos, Shinsuke Nakamura, Toge Makabe, GBH. It was this something very different than when they were first established. I guess now they're just like a big face faction.
Right.
When there's a mass history to the stable. Is that not much has happened recently?
Right. And I mean, for me, as far as like the purpose of factions in New Japan, I mean, I kind of see them also in a way kind of like MMA training teams, training camps. Like you have guys fighting out of the Chaos team, fighting out of the Bullet Club team. And so, you know, it's a faction system, and everybody kind of has their group. And so I like the faction system, and it makes for great like pre-matchups and having faction warfares and having these multi-man matches that set up for bigger matches down the line. And as far as Chaos, yeah, you know, they were heels at one point and would fight against the Hentai team and stuff like that. But now, in the last couple of years, we've seen them team up with Hentai and kind of be baby faces as they feud with like, guys like Bullet Club and Suzuki-gun. And so, yeah, I just think there's kind of a blend of the home team right now. So that's why I feel there could be some shake-up there.
Because when they were first kind of becoming that babyface thing, there wasn't like an LIJ stable where every single member's got such a strong like character and identity. Like each one's unique, yet somehow fits the stable perfectly. Chaos doesn't. It's never really had that. It's I guess you've got Yoshihashi, for example. Canada's in there.
Yeah.
He's not going to be LIJ anytime soon. Yeah. It's not things like that. Yeah, I mean, the story behind... I do really recommend going into the story about Chaos specifically, because it is quite interesting, and I feel like that does help, in a way, explain factions in New Japan at the same time, because there weren't always factions everywhere.
Right, yeah. Next question here from Dom Homie 101. First, he asks, any update on Shota Umino? Is it possible that he could make an appearance on Strong in the near future? I haven't heard any updates on Umino. I know he was also doing the excursion in your country over in Rev Pro Imp, but I haven't seen it.
I've got one thing from Rev Pro where they happened to do a Q&A on Twitter last week, and they were specifically asked about getting Umino back in. Umino's not in the country, so we can't get him in. But Rev Pro said, like, the first opportunity, they do want to book him again to get him back to Rev Pro. So that probably means he's currently in Japan. And with the whole pandemic and everything, he's not going anywhere, but they are looking to get him back out there once they actually can get him out. And RevPo are like immediately like, we want him back.
Yeah, so he's probably just been training at the dojo for now. And who knows? Maybe they'll get to a point where they're like, all right, we want to debut him, and maybe we'll end up seeing him debut without finishing his excursion off. So we'll see what happens there. A non-New Japan question he asked, with WrestleMania, well, he asked this last week and we had to push it to this week, around the corner, what are you guys' favorite Mania matches and Mania shows? Some of my favorite Mania matches are Savage vs. Warrior, WrestleMania 7, Brett vs. Piper, WrestleMania 8, Shawn vs. Razor, WrestleMania 10, Shawn vs. Jericho at 19, Vince vs. Hogan at 19, and some of his favorite WrestleMania shows are WrestleMania 8, 10, 17, 18, 19, 21. He also says WrestleMania 27 is the worst WrestleMania of all time in his honest opinion.
Ooh, I mean, there's some of the earlier WrestleManias haven't aged particularly well in terms of watching them, like WrestleMania 4. Just to throw that one out there, it's really not aged well. But so my kind of like wrestling history story is the first wrestling show I ever watched was my friend showing me the VHS of WrestleMania 17, and every wrestling fan's reaction is, "Oh, it's all downhill from there." So like my favorite WrestleMania, like for me, because of the like kid nostalgia, like just seeing it for the first time, the TLC 2 and Rock Austin were just like something else I'd just never seen before. Like I knew of wrestling because the advertising was everywhere for X8 over here. So I was aware of wrestling. My friend had just bring it on the PS2. I asked my parents for it. They got me Shut Your Mouth. I was initially really angry before realizing it's the sequel, so it's technically better. So I knew of wrestling. I just never watched it till X7. So that is really ranked high for me. I like some of the individual matches of recent Manias, but until this one, I'd say the big stadium Manias have been quite difficult to watch because they're like 8 hours long, which is absolutely ridiculous. So even if there's something good within there, it's been a few years since I've actually felt it, which is what made Saturday feel so special for me.
Yeah.
It was a show of full hype, and I was able to enjoy the main event and the atmosphere rather than just being bloody knackered and waiting for it.
For me, I love WrestleMania 24 in Orlando. Also, you have the Shawn Michaels Ric Flair match. You have the first Money in the Bank ladder match. You have Edge and Taker in the main event. You have the triple threat with Cena, Triple H, and Orton. There's a lot of great matches on that WrestleMania 24 card. Also, I think WrestleMania 19 is super underrated. I don't think a lot of people talk about that card altogether, and there's a lot of great matches on that card as well. As far as favorite Mania matches, I mean, I'm a Shawn Michaels guy, so I mean, Shawn versus Kurt Angle from 21 is up there. The Shawn Taker matches, the last two before Shawn retired, those are up there. 25 and 26, those are up there for me as favorites. Obviously, also all the TLC matches were great. The first Money in the Bank was really good and cool. And the fact that CM Punk won was kind of a surprise for that night. So, yeah, those are the ones that kind of pop in my head. Also, yeah, the Shawn Razor ladder match. I mean, how do you feel about the Shawn Brett Iron Man? Because I know a lot of people tend not to like that match.
It's one of those where it's like how I describe Bobby Fish, where I personally just find Bobby Fish a little bit boring, whilst also at the same time knowing how good he is. That's how I kind of make that Iron Man match. It doesn't personally do it for me, but I also know how good it is. So I'm not going to go against anybody who says it's right up there for them. Yeah. Maybe part of that is because, again, I didn't properly start watching wrestling until 2005. So it's way before my time.
Yeah.
So I've got no reference for in the moment. There's none of that hype for me. So it's just like one of those recommended matches. And obviously, Austin versus Brett stood out way more to me as like a new fan. The first things I saw were like later Attitude Era stuff, so that's going to appeal to me a lot more than like the Iron Man match. Which, won't crap on anybody who likes it, but it's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah, growing up, I loved the Iron Man match, and also I watched that WrestleMania As a kid, we ordered that pay-per-view, and I was so happy when Shawn, won and got the title. And being a Shawn Michaels fan, like growing up, I would watch the Iron Man match all the time. I loved that match, and I haven't rewatched it. It's been a long time since I've rewatched it, but I have a feeling it might not hold up compared to everything that we've seen in recent years.
I mean, Omega Okada with their Iron Man, or they're essentially an Iron Man.
Yeah.
They're balls. I don't think, for me, that was so incredible. I don't know how Shawn versus Brett has aged now. Yeah, that's the point. Yeah, it really got upped up.
Yeah. Next question here from Oscar Rooney. He says, in honor of DMX, if you were to give X Gonna Give It To You, Rough Riders Anthem, and Where the Hood At to NJPW wrestlers as entrances, who would you choose? So, Imp, are you familiar at all with DMX's music?
I am, yes. I had Def Jam Vendetta on PS2. It was my favourite games, and that's the game that got me kind of into rap for the first time. And so, yes, I am familiar with DMX. Let's not do a whole backstory. Yes, to DMX. Yeah,
nice.
I will say Omos threw up the X at WrestleMania. And I was like, oh, he'd be a good DMX one. Oh, big Omos.
Yeah.
Not New Japan at all. But I just thought, oh, yes. I was trying to think.
I would give X Gonna Give It To You to Hanare, just because he was just X of the United Empire. So, and he's got this new attitude, so X Gonna Give It To You.
I was picturing Chris Dickinson going over to New Japan and having it.
Oh, yeah, you can do that, yeah.
Oh, there's got to be somebody awesome. Some totally wouldn't fit. It's just Great O'Khan. Like you put an X on instead of the question mark.
Yeah.
you go full in with it. That's to completely change his gimmick.
Right, yeah.
It wouldn't be any of that. Yeah. Who would be awesome? I'm trying to think who would be really good for it. Because they often have quite strong gimmicks that tie into their themes really well in New Japan.
For the Rough Riders Anthem, I was probably thinking Ishii.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I'd have the Pitbull roaring first as well. Keep that in. Right. Transition into the other one.
And then Where the Hood At? I'm trying to think who would be good for that.
Immediately Yoshihashi.
Oh man!
He's got the stick. He can. I was picturing him on the corner, and he's got his hood up, and then he's like down with the hood, out with the stick. That's what I'm picturing.
I think maybe Suzuki-gun could come out to where the hood's at.
Yeah, Yoshihashi's not my serious answer. The Suzuki-gun lads are, I'll say, they've got the serious swagger enough to carry it. I'll say that, yeah. Which is why also Omos just jumped out immediately. He's like, yes. The best, somehow, for WrestleMania, he was even better dressed than he is normally. Like, what gear is he going to wear? Oh, wait, no, he's wearing even more fancy clothes.
He had Under Armour with buttons.
Yeah, which is insane. It's like, my God, that's like the most fancy coat I've seen on a wrestler. The Omos, the smartest man at WrestleMania, because the only one to wear a coat when it was pissing it down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my answer is Omos from WWE.
And we just had some more questions come in here from Dom Honey 101. Just in the nick of time here. So he has several questions here actually. So first he says, what are your thoughts on shows like Wrestle Kingdom and WrestleMania being 2-night events? Do you think this is just a trend, or will it be here to stay? Which event is better as a 2-night event?
So that's a bit difficult. I loved Wrestle Kingdom as one event, whilst WWE WrestleMania as one event was a slog. So WrestleMania is massively improved by being 2 nights. Whilst Wrestling Kingdom, I didn't feel there was anything wrong with one night, because I loved the way it kind of hyped up, where you got to a certain point in the card, and then you knew you're getting like 5 bangers in a row. Like I loved that feeling where so like the Never title comes out or the junior lads come out, and from here on out it's banger after banger after banger, and yeah, I kind of miss that feeling. I loved getting that every January.
Yeah.
But, so I feel like WrestleMania's 100% benefited way more, but that's just because I loved Wrestle Kingdom as it was. I still really do like Wrestle Kingdom. I love Bushi Jay White. I was so hyped for it when I was watching that. So it's not detracting massively. I think one's helped the other way more.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I thought Wrestle Kingdom also did a great job of that build. You had that, that opener, maybe junior tag match or some kind of multi-man match opener, and you build all the way up until you get to the IWGP Heavyweight match. It flowed well. It never felt super long. It was very enjoyable as one night. I don't mind Wrestle Kingdom as 2 nights. I mean, there's some more stuff you can do. You can give some matches some more time to breathe. And obviously, business-wise, you can get double the gate if you can sell out both nights. So business-wise, I definitely understand why they would keep doing 2 nights going forward. But I didn't mind one night, but I do see the benefits of doing 2 nights. WrestleMania, I definitely enjoyed that as 2 nights. As I went to WrestleMania 33 in Orlando, and that was just a long day with the pre-show, I think starting at 5 our time, and then the show didn't end until after midnight with the Roman Undertaker match. And it felt like a slog. It was hot. It was just, and then just watching WrestleManias that are long, it's just like WrestleManias, they went from, I like, if WrestleMania is going to be one night, it has to be that 4-hour format that it used to be in. Because that was the whole thing.
Yes.
Normal pay-per-view used to be 3 hours, but WrestleMania, you had that extra hour. It was 4 hours, and so that's what made it special. And then year after year, they just kept adding it more and more. It's getting longer and longer and longer. So if they're never going to go back to the 4-hour one-night format, then I think I would go with the 2-night format. Same business principles go with New Japan. You can do double nights. You can get double the house. And then you can give some more matches time to breathe. You get more people on the card without having a 1 8-hour show. So yeah, I hope that they will continue to do this kind of 2-night format for Mania going forward.
Yeah, and I'm not a normal fan when it comes to wrestling because I review the shows for wrestling headlines. So when the shows ended, I, 5 a.m. in the morning, will get my microphone, get my camera, and I'll do a live review with the chat and everything. So for me, I personally really do prefer the 2 nights. It's way easier to do those shows after a 3 to 4 hour show compared to the 8. I feel so lucky that I never had to do an 8-hour WrestleMania kind of coverage. I wonder why Plan left after. I wonder why. I as a reviewer much more prefer it to be have it 2 nights. It's way easier to digest and then talk about and then come back in the next day.
Yeah. Well, speaking of WrestleMania, his next question, he says, thoughts on this year's WrestleMania? Which night was better? In my opinion, I thought night 1 was better than night 2, but both main events were top-notch in my opinion. Also, I like the fact that there were very few part-timers on the card, and this is not a knock on the part-timers, but they needed to attempt to make new stars.
And in light of Josh not being here, talking about Damian Priest, that man fucks. I've got the same twang that Josh has. In his honour. I really enjoyed night 1. It was a really special atmosphere. You still felt it online as well, in real time watching it live, and especially the main event as well. It was just a really special atmosphere. And again, I did my live review afterwards, and the atmosphere in the chat, it carried over. There was such a positive buzz in the air, and people really did feel like they generally had watched something special. I think the moment it really kind of clicked for them was when Michael Cole had absolutely zero fear to state why this was important. No, it was going, the main event, but it's got nothing to do with the skin color or the sex. They're just really talented. It's like, well, why is it ground bacon then? It's not to do with any of those reasons.
Right.
Michael Cole, zero fear. And I feel like that really helped kind of sell it. And that that atmosphere was still felt whilst I was doing my review. Yeah, I felt it was a really special night. It didn't need to have home run wrestling matches. It didn't need to be Wrestle Kingdom level stuff. But just the atmosphere across the entire thing. I'm repeating myself now, but yeah, it was a really special night.
Yeah, I also love night one. Night one was the better night. I love Almost, and just how, he did very little, but his presence jumped off the screen, and they got a star in the making if they push him correctly. Cesaro and Seth was a very good match. I felt like I was watching, some 07 Ring of Honor, Tyler Black and Claudio Castagnoli. So that was a good matchup, and the main event, Sasha and Bianca, was just incredible. I went the full 5 on it. I love the matchup. It's WWE. It takes a lot for me nowadays to get invested and get excited about it, but that match had me. Thought it was a very good match. It was a great match, and yeah, they just went balls to the walls. A lot of great innovative spots with Bianca doing the press slam up the stairs, and the way they incorporated her hair and that whip that she gave to Sasha, and just the whole build up and story was awesome. And yeah, just excellent work by both ladies. And night one was a better night.
Oh yeah, by far. I think the main event of night 2 really delivered as well. But nothing else that card did.
And definitely, I think it did help both nights, the fact that there were not many part-timers. I mean, you had Shane with a Strowman match. You had, I guess, I don't know if Edge is considered a part-timer or not, because I know he has been working all SmackDown since he's been back, but I don't know if he's going to be back after this loss. So I guess you could kind of count him. So Shane, Edge. But that was really it. There wasn't a ton of, you didn't have Triple H, you didn't have Taker, there was no Cena, no Batista, no Rock. So it gave a chance for some of these guys to get some singles matches, get some time to shine. Normally they would probably be overshadowed by some of these part-timers.
Yeah, I feel like Cesaro's a massive kind of example of that. Like he was one of those guys who just doesn't get a shine or a chance, and here he was defeating Seth Rollins, the man who defeated Brock Lesnar at the last time they actually ran a stadium, and Cesaro's beating him at WrestleMania in a Ring of Honor match, which I loved. It was just that just was a Ring of Honor match. I loved that. So I think there's any additional Samoa Joe and a poncho.
Yes.
That was a sight to see.
That was great.
Just getting so hyped with that video package, which was really, really well done. And then you come back to Michael Cole, just go, well, it's raining, so... Shane, do you want to say anything?
His next question is it possible that we may see a story of the great Okan eventually becoming the leader of the United Empire?
It's so incredibly early into that faction. Who knows what dynamic they'll kind of end up being, really. I mean, I think he's so quickly getting over, maybe, over time. But no one out of NIJ's broken out at all. So I really don't know.
Yeah, I think also that there's a story to tell with that down the line, but this unit is so fresh. I think it's been great having this fresh unit. And also, the plan right now is to establish Ospreay as a top guy right now. He's got the belt. He's got his faction. They're giving him, they strap the rocket on him. And so I feel like being a top guy in New Japan, you usually are in the head of a faction. We saw that with, Okada, head of Chaos. Naito's the head of LIJ. Tanahashi's kind of the head of Hantai. So a lot of the guys that have been champion, Kenny was leader of Bullet Club. Jay, leader of Bullet Club. A lot of these guys that end up being champion are usually leaders of factions, and so I can see Ospreay just kind of being in charge of it in the United Empire for a while, until they get to the point where they want Great Okan to get to that title picture.
I was just trying to think what would his stable be, and I went far. I was just trying to think what would Great Okan do, and immediately I've got him with Khan and his show of freaks or something, just a line of interesting wrestlers. Like, this is the greatest Khan. I'm assuming that's not what was pictured. Again, because he's made such a presence so quickly.
Yeah.
We'll see if he stays this over like within a year or so, and then he can like long term, maybe 3 years after that. Think about it. Yeah, because that's enough time for New Japan to slowly bubble something. Because they do take their time. When we say long term, we're talking flipping years when we build something.
Yeah, there's probably Gato probably has notebooks filled with like the next 5 years of what's going to happen with Great O'Khan and the United Empire.
And then the lights flick back on, and there's a random man there, so he's wearing a hood. It's Great O'Khan. He takes off the hood. You can do a surprise debut in the lights out with the hood and everything.
Yeah.
Would you do that? King of Pro Wrestling, have a surprise debut when the lights come back on them.
The light comes on, it's Andrade.
The silliest match. Just to send the Americans wild and force the Americans to then watch the King of Pro Wrestling match because they think they expect something good. No.
His last question here, non-wrestling question. He says, with the passing of legendary musical icon DMX, what are your guys' thoughts on his music?
I mean, I lightly touched on it, but you've accidentally given me an avenue to, I guess, talk about my history.
Go for it.
Yeah, so first exposure was, I'm now second guessing, was he on Def Jam Vendetta?
He was, yeah.
He definitely was, yeah. I'm trying to remember who my favourite guy on there was. It might have been the created guy, someone like Marty or Moby or something. It wasn't real. Something like that. The guy you did your career as, that one. But yeah, so that was my introduction. And again, growing up as a kid, it was all kind of like rock music or pop or whatever. And keep in mind, I was born in 92. So my pop music, you're talking boy bands when I was a kid. They were number one. I know you want to talk about DMX, but I've ended up going to like NSYNC. So they were like number one, and so I was never really exposed to rap that much. Then they started to break into the charts, and I wanted a wrestling game. Saw the reviews for Def Jam Vendetta. I was like, oh yeah, I'll give this a go. Looks fun, and it just so quickly, just everything on that game influenced me. Ludacris as well, like he was another one. I would never have thought it would have connected with me like it did. But yeah, just all those songs on that game just immediately did. So I checked out more and from that point was just a fan. And because again, I was 100% like a rocker kid, really, who just for some reason had DMX, Ludacris, the Def Jam guys, just like all there. So from that point, I was just a fan. It's not any more really elaborate than that. So I have to give kudos to, because I then checked out wider things because again, I didn't know anything about Biggie and I've forgotten his name.
Tupac.
Jesus.
Huh? Talking about Tupac.
Yeah, Tupac. Jesus Christ. Yes. Yeah. The Biggie. I'm picturing him. I was like, come on, Shakur. I just couldn't get it. Yeah. So that was something that I then slowly became interested in and learned about because obviously all of that had happened before I was whilst I was a toddler, all of that had gone down. So it was all in way in the past by the time I was looking it up. And yeah, I'd say definitely connected with Tupac's music more. But there's I'm a very white person. Even as 2K, I'm so far away from that world. There is no real strong link or connection to why. I think I just liked the way he raps, and there's no real strong analytic to it. I've always liked these slightly deeper ones.
Yeah, he
did. To both Tupac and DMX especially, just had that cool. Just I want to sound like you.
Yeah, DMX just had that unique voice. Like when his song come on, you hear him start rapping, all right, yeah, that's DMX, and you know what you're getting. And yeah, definitely had that, like you mentioned, that deep kind of unique voice. And also, I can't remember the first time I heard him. Probably on somewhere on the radio, probably, because he hit a lot of hit songs, and probably driving to school with my parents having pop radio on. It probably came on. So yeah, I don't remember the first time I heard him, but yeah, definitely growing up, he had a lot of big songs, and a lot of his songs were great for working out too, getting you pumped up. And then, like you mentioned, Def Jam Vendetta, I played those, and obviously a lot of songs featured in there as well. And so yeah, just and the songs that we were talking about earlier from the earlier question, X Gonna Give It To You, The Rough Riders Anthem, Where the Hood At, 3 of his biggest songs, the little songs so that if they came on the club or came on the radio, like everybody knows the words and everybody's, going crazy for it. So yeah, definitely was a big fan of DMX and loved his songs. And yeah, definitely a shame that, passing away only at 50 years old. So definitely our thoughts and prayers to his family. And yeah, listen to his music and just remember the great stuff that he brought to us.
I think it was like the first rapper that I watched where watching him live in concert, it was just the way that he'd hold the mic and put out his arm, and his arm would just do that whilst he's rapping.
Yeah.
And every person in that crowd is perfectly in time with his arm. It's just to have that level of control over the audience. I think he was the first guy I saw do that. Yes, yeah. Obviously sucks. But I've got fond memories. That's kind of how I'd like to remember him.
Well, last thing we have here, recommended match of the week. So I'm picking the recommended match for this week, and since I walked out on Loki's main event match Mania weekend, I figure I do some justice here. So this week's recommended match of the week is Wrestling Dontaku 2012. It's Loki versus Prince Devitt for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship.
I think I watched, because I think when Finn Balor debuted, I went back and watched the Prince Devitt stuff, because I started watching in 2014 New Japan, so I just missed Devitt's run. So I found it quite interesting going back to watch all his stuff with like Loki. Oh, did he wrestle Naito at that point? Because Naito would have been a junior. I want to say, yeah. He did triple threat, so I can't remember who he was against. Really irritating. Might have been Ibushi, actually.
Yeah, there was the Loki, Ibushi, Devitt triple threat from Wrestle Kingdom.
That was it. That must have been the one. There's another one in like a New Beginning or something. But yeah, it could be this exact match. That could be the one I'm thinking of. But all I remember is the red carpet, and they had that for every show back then. So it really doesn't help differentiate. But yeah, Loki's run that's when he was doing his Hitman gimmick. He was kind of figuring that out to bring back to Impact. And when he brought it back to Impact, I was like, oh, that was cool.
Yeah.
It's two guys who are close to finding their ultimate edges, so it's quite interesting to go back and watch now. But obviously, we know how great they are.
Yeah, both guys are awesome. I love both of these guys, and so yeah, should be a fun matchup for everybody to check out this week. So again, that's Wrestling Dontaku 2012, Loki versus Prince Devitt. It's for the junior title. It is on New Japan World. And thanks so much for jumping on the show last minute here, filling in for the young boy. He owes you something now.
I'll take $50.
I'll give you his cut of the ad revenue.
It's gonna be poor boy. I'll be the paper boy.
So go ahead, give your plugs. Tell our listeners where they can find you online.
So you can follow me on Twitter at the Damn Implicat. That's damn as in damn. And you can catch my reviews of Raw and NXT every week. I want to do SmackDown. I just don't currently have the space to do it. But yeah, I do Raw and NXT for Wrestling Headlines over on their YouTube channel. And I'm live with Aftershock after all the pay-per-views. Hence why I'm flipping knackered. Hence why I also really needed to smile about wrestling. So this has been a great rehab for me. Then jump back into NXT tomorrow. So yeah. Also, I do column-y things for Wrestling Headlines every now and then. I think I posted one ahead of NXT TakeOver. If you want to go read my words that I wrote, that's about it. I don't write regularly enough to massively plug that. Twitch. I'll plug my Twitch. I never plug my Twitch on my own streams. I don't mean to do this. Yeah, so I've been streaming on Twitch over at The Implications with a second S. I'm currently playing Yakuza 0 over on that stream. So if you like Japanese video games that have loads of side quests you can get lost in, as in, I said I'd be doing. So it's got a massive story about a murder on an empty lot. And you've got there's a Yakuza's involved, and it's got loads of layers to it. It's really well told. Then I'm over here having dance contests and running a cabaret club. It's just like, trust me, when people come to the stream, like, trust me, there's a Yakuza story here. I'm just massively sidetracked by all of this stuff. Well, what are you doing? Well, I need to defeat this woman in a dance contest, obviously. It's one of those games. I think tomorrow I'm streaming Fortnite as well, because turns out streaming with other people, they want to play multiplayer games and don't want to watch me run a cabaret club. So follow, on Twitch.
Check out Imp online. Follow him on Twitch, Twitter. Check out his stuff on YouTube, on WrestlingHeadlines.com. But Imp, thanks again for joining this week. Next week, we'll be back to review more of the Road to Wrestling Dontaku. If you enjoyed today's show, please consider making a donation. You can visit socialsuplex.com/donate. Click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure you connect with us on social media. On Twitter, the show is @KI Strong Style. The network is @SocialSuplex. You can follow me @Jeremy L. Donovan. On Facebook, we are facebook.com/SocialSuplex. You can also find us in the Wrestling Squared Circle Facebook group, facebook.com/group/Wrestling Squared Circle. On Instagram, we're @SocialSuplex. On Reddit, I'm the Pro Black Guy. Josh is Keeping It Strong Style. You can email me, Jeremy @socialsuplex.com. And be sure to check out all the other shows here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We have One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd. We have the Ricky and Clyde Wrestling Show from Scotland. We have Brave Consequences with Caleb and Maserati. The 8-Bit Suplex with Josh No. 2 and Sandy. All Things Elite with Floyd and Austin. And the Great Match Generator with Danny. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. And we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.
The entrepreneurial spirit is resilient, and U.S. Bank is here to make sure that no matter what unknown pops up, business owners know that we have their back. Because problem solvers are the ones that keep us all moving forward by finding ways to close gaps, even when distances are being kept everywhere. So whatever you need to adapt and evolve your business, U.S. Bank is here to support you. U.S. Bank. We'll get there together. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.